Hello, Lund loyalists. John Lund Unleashed YouTubers, those watching on X and Instagram and listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure you subscribe, like, and turn on your alerts so you never miss a show. And for all things Unleashed, go to johnlundunleashed.com. Live shows, archives, the blog, social media, links, and more. Now likely nursing a hangover. Unshaven, unshowered, and a 50-50 chance of his teeth being brushed. Here's Johnny. Here's Johnny.
That guy right there that I was just showing, this guy, a magical 56 because he did it against the Magic, get it? He's pretty good. And I'm going to need your help today with Steph Curry. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Episode 73. Little scratchy voice. Scratchy voice on a Friday. I hope you are doing absolutely outstanding. It's the last day of February. That flew. My goodness, man. February always does. That's my birthday month, but my goodness. Even more than it normally does. February flies by. Thank you for making the time for our little show. It is John Lund Unleashed. We're on a bunch of different platforms. If you're on Facebook, welcome to YouTube channels. John Lund Unleashed. Please subscribe. John Lund Unleashed. Really appreciate it. We are on Twitch and at John Lund Radio. We're on Instagram and X this morning as well. I'd love it if you'd migrate over to the YouTube channel. Please make sure that you subscribe. Tell all your friends and enemies. We have a great chat room. I'll do roll call in just a second. We always have a great time in here. And even more so last night because I met some of the Lund loyalists in person, pretty face-to-face, and it was very cool. We had our first Lund loyalist chat last night. We had a really good time with it, and we're going to do those every single month. So really cool connecting with everybody, and we had a great time. Steph Curry is going to be the main topic of conversation today because where I'm going to need your help. And before I go through the chalkboard, before I do anything else, before we do roll call, any of those things on a Friday edition of the show, you got to help me with superlatives. What else can we say? I have an idea of where I want to go with Steph Curry, but after last night, and February 27th is just his night, and I'm going to put up some graphics here in just a second with the Knicks in 54. And, of course, yesterday we talked about bang, the double bang, Mike Breen against Oklahoma City, the half-court shot, then another half-court shot last night, and he scores 56, and he's just unbelievable. So we'll get more into Steph Curry because the thing is at the top of the chalkboard, and if you're new around here, I go by the chalkboard there to my right, probably your left, however you look at this whole thing, and it says, what more can you say? And then I thought about it, and I'm like, well, what kind of a talk show host am I? A YouTube show guy, X, Instagram, all that stuff. What kind of a host am I if I can't think of more superlatives to say about Steph Curry? It's kind of my job to say, well, you can't say there's nothing else to say. How boring is that? There's nothing else to say. Good night, everybody. It doesn't work like that. So I do have some ideas with it. Rap Sheet Reacts, as you can see there. Hilarious what they did to him on the Pat McAfee show. Plus, even TNT was talking about it. And I didn't know this about Jordan Schultz. I got to tell you a little story. Miles Garrett says no to the Browns. They wanted to give him an extension. Dude already asked for a trade. He did it in writing. He tried to be nice, and now the ugliness and the back and forth is going to start. But we all know this with relationships when they end, whether they're professional or personal. It's really hard to have them end in the way that you want them to end. They're usually ugly. And Miles Garrett wrote a nice letter and said, I love Cleveland, this and that, and this and that. But he said, I wanted to win, and now Cleveland's saying I'm not going to trade him, but that's a leverage ploy. You know that because you're around the show a lot. You understand how that works. 49ers defensive line, the reason I write 49ers DL there is because the defensive lineman ran around in shorts yesterday, and I have some things on that. Matthew Stafford, this is getting really interesting and deep and soap opera-ish. So we'll tell you about the latest there as well. The Colorado guys, and I mean Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter spoke to the media yesterday, and both are really interesting guys, and we got to discuss that as well, and whether you'd want to be in the Shedeur Sanders business. Random stuff happens throughout the show. If you're new around here, I go out to the chat line. They send me into a different realm, and because I'm not staring at the chat line the whole time, or I couldn't do an effective show, but I'll catch it. I'll go back, and I want to get reaction from people, and I love it. And then you'll be talking amongst yourselves around about something, and then I have to jump in. I don't have to, but something catches my eye, and then I go into a random thing. And I like to, again, if you're new, what I like to liken it to is you're driving down the road, you're going on a road trip, you take a exit ramp, you get some gas, you grab a Slim Jim, maybe you go to the bathroom, maybe hit McDonald's, and then you get right back on. So we take these off ramps, we get back on. That's kind of what the randoms are about. And then micro, this is going to hit the guys a little bit harder than anything else. So I have a story which I'm very confused about, and that'll be part of the Sweet Clean, family-friendly caboose pistol. So welcome into a Friday edition of the show. Everyone is here. I saw it early, and I'm trying to get this thing up a little bit earlier so people can get into the room a little bit earlier rather than like 8 o'clock. I tried to move them the night before, so then everybody's here and everybody's cranked up and everybody's lubed up and everything like that. So very, very cool. Steve is here. 59/84 is here. Franco, good morning, my friend. Lund. Gizmo is here. Daniel, light the beam. I like you changed it up, man. Pine Needle is here as well. Danny, it was really great to talk to you last night. Very, very cool. Tacky, great to see you this morning. Hi, Jake. Good morning to Jake. Todd, very cool to see you, man. Thank you very much for the kind words. New to the chat. Boy, beautiful. I'm sorry that I look at avatars. Beautiful. That's a good looking couple right there. Very nice to see you, Todd. Welcome. And please, everybody, welcome Todd. This is what I'm talking about, Todd. We have a really cool community here. There's no hate. And if people disagree, it's cool and it's fine. And that's what I'm trying to do here. Baba Booey. I got was it a direct message? Tampa Bay Beer Week starts tomorrow. Isn't that great? Thanks for joining us. Very good to see you, my friend Jeff. It was really nice to see Jeff. Jeff is so cool. Here's why Jeff's wife is still yelling at him. And good morning, Jeff. And I apologize. And you know what? We can do a one-on-one and I'll apologize to her in person. But here's what happened. Jeff was on the chat last night and it was really, really cool to meet him. And he was cooking dinner and he's chopping stuff up and he's doing things. And then I think, Jeff, you went into like an office or something and then you probably stayed too long because we were having a good time. And then you went out there and you're cooking dinner and your wife's probably sitting out there going, I told you, because you told me this at the beginning of the chat. My wife's giving me 30 minutes, do this thing, and then I got to go and eat dinner and everything like that. So he stays too long, I'm assuming. And then he brings his, I don't know what device we were on, iPad, phone, whatever, computer, and he brings it out there and says, here's my wife, and introduced me to his wife, and they're sitting at the dinner table. So here I am at their dinner table, and she's looking at me like, I hate you so much. And normally what that's reserved for, because I've heard this a million times in my long career, is that guys will say to me that their wife or significant other will get in the car and it's always on sports radio. And after a minute, because I know this too, I just have all sorts of stuff going in my car. And after a minute, my wife will say, look, can we just change it to something that I might like? And I'm just telling you from experience, you can do whatever you want. Every relationship is different. That's a battle that I'm just willing to give to her. There's battles and wars and relationships. And I'm just willing to say, yeah, whatever you want to listen to, because that just keeps the peace, So I've heard that so many times where it's like, my wife is subjected to your sports radio stuff. So that takes it to a whole nother level that, yeah, it's one thing to be like, can we just change it? Fine. Because you're always listening to the sports talk stuff and this Lund guy. And so then when I make you late for your dinner, which you're clearly making when you came onto the chat, and then you take me all the way onto your dinner table and your wife is just looking at me like, come on, man. I'm trying to have a nice dinner with my husband here. Can you not sit at our dinner table? So that was amazing. But thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. That was fun. Vernon is here today. Christopher was another guy that was in the chat last night. It was awesome to meet you. Christopher's story is amazing because he was at work. And then we lost him for a while. I think somebody came in and goes, bro, are you working or what? And he's like, whoa, I got to go. And then he came back a little bit later on. So that was very, very cool. I think, Chris, you said you're a chemist. Now I just feel so dumb in front of you now. A chemist, man. How cool is that? So anyway, we had a great time in the chat last night. Good morning. I'll give you a little hint, man. This is coming right here. I don't know that I'm supposed to do this. And I know the man on the other end. I told you this story in the chat last night, so I might as well just bring it to everybody else. Bay Area Sports Collective is coming. Can I say anything more than that? A person behind there, Jeremiah Crow. I'm just going to say it's Crow. I mean, come on. We got to start teasing towards something. I think Monday, right? Monday's the big day, and you're going to be really, really excited for it. But if you haven't done it, go over to Bay Area Sports Collective and give them a follow, and we'll just give you a little teaser. We're still doing things, and it's a soft launch going on right there. But because they came into the room, I'm just gonna throw it out. Give Bay Area Sports Collective, BASC, give them a follow, please. Give them a subscribe, please. And I think you'll be excited about what we're doing with them. I guess we're going to kick this whole thing off on Monday. So please, right there, I'm going to keep that up on the board for a second. Please give them a subscribe on YouTube if you would. That would be tremendous. And then stay here as well. AJ is here today. Daniel is here today. Wes, good morning, my good friend. Hurley Bird, man, this is cool, man. Lots of people on board today. Good morning, good morning. Look at that skyline, brother. Man, let's see, what else do I have here? Kyle is here this morning. Really cool to see everybody. Let me get back to Bay Area Sports Collective. If I'd lost that, I probably did. But anyway, Bay Area Sports Collective is a great place to get a subscribe and then come back and hang out with us for the day. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Friday. I hope everybody's got a great plan for this weekend. The weather's been so amazing in the Bay this week. And then tomorrow I went to my wife and I said, hey, there was an event that I wanted to go to tomorrow up in Napa. And a prospective person who might be advertising on the show, I'll tell you that right now, we're dotting I's, crossing T's. And she said, tomorrow's supposed to be cloudy and rainy. I'm like, we've had this beautiful week, just an amazing week of weather. Like I in my studio here, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do one of these things where I show you where I'm sitting to give you a better perspective. It's not like it's huge, but it's comfortable. And a lot of times I'll open up the door lately and it's, because right now it's pitch black. I have the shades down and I have a curtain that goes over the door and all this kind of stuff because, you want the ambiance to be nice in here. So I'm not going to open anything up. But after I get off the air, I open up the windows and I get the air in and it's really nice because it smells like a teenage boy's room in here. I'm in here all the time. So it's like, anyway, I don't want to gross anybody out. But anyway, you get the idea on that whole thing. But anyway, the weather's been amazing. And then finally it's time to do something. She's like, yeah, it's going to rain tomorrow. I'm like, ugh. Anyway, that's tomorrow. All right, episode 73, Curry's 56. We're going to get into that. What more can you say? Well, Lund, you got to say something. You have a show. So we will. I'm going to get into Bay Area athletes and where Steph is because that's the only place really I know. And I want your help on this. Like I said, what can you say about Steph? Let me ask you this question. Oh, good morning, Bill M. It's very nice to see you too. What else can you say about Steph that hasn't been said? Is there something? Is there a direction? Because here's what I think. From an NBA sense, and he's never going to get fully the credit he deserves because he's a little bit in the shadow of LeBron James, even though that he's beaten LeBron and all that. LeBron was drafted in 03. Steph was drafted in 09. So they're not exactly perfect. But in this era that Steph has dominated to such a high level, LeBron is considered to be the best player of this era. And so he takes Steph's shadow away. But reality of the whole thing is that Steph Curry changed the game. Whether you like the way he changed the game or not is debatable. But everybody, big men shooting, guys shooting from 35 feet, the midcourt shot that Steph hit against Orlando last night, which we'll replay and all those kind of things. And, YouTube police be damned. We'll replay some of that stuff for you it's just so amazing what he does. And it's in his age 37 season. And you can see it at times, where like I was in the building a lot of times as Kobe got older. In fact, it's funny when the Warriors won their 73rd game of the year, I was at Oracle Arena and I was covering that game. And the buzz in the building, though, was Kobe Bryant. I think, what did he go for? 61 or something like that against the Jazz. And he shot like a zillion times. And so at the end of Kobe's career, Kobe wasn't quite Kobe. And maybe Steph will get to that point. Because the difference is that Kobe was such a great athlete that near the end of his career, he just didn't have the explosiveness. And then, of course, he had the Achilles injury against the Warriors. Steph doesn't really rely on that. It's a lot of smarts. Of course, he's a great athlete and he stays in amazing shape, but he's going to be able to do this for quite a long time. But I think where I'm going with Steph today is it's beyond basketball. That when he goes in and LeBron is, people are going to debate LeBron. They're not going to debate Curry, even though if you look at just straight across the board, as far as winning and all those kind of things, Curry's got him beat there. He's looked at as a certain specialty kind of a player, the 3-point. So he's not going to get the accolades that LeBron got. But let's take it out of the basketball world for a minute. And you can tell me if you disagree or agree. And again, I'm asking you the question, what else can we say about Steph Curry that hasn't been said? So I'm going to put that on you a little bit today. But I guess there's two ways that I'm looking at this. There's a lot of great sports towns. We're lucky in terms of, and I'm covering up a little bit there. Let me see if I can move myself over. But if I can't, then that's about as far as over as I can get, I guess. But here's what I'm trying to get at here. Is you look at, okay, so we're at the what more can you say, right? And I have greatest Bay Area athletes, and there's Barry, and there's Willie, and there's Joe, and there's Jerry, and there's Steph, and there's Ricky, and there's more. I'm leaving people off. We're fortunate enough to have seen some of the best of the best. If Barry would get acknowledged the way that Barry should get acknowledged, and we can debate that too. You don't have to agree with me on that. He'd go down as maybe the greatest. Willie is the greatest, or considered to be the greatest baseball player, positional baseball player of all time. You can debate Joe as the greatest quarterback. And again, you can have your list. Let's establish this if everybody's new around here. Everybody can have their own list. I don't care what Screaming A's list or that guy's list or this guy's list or whatever. Joe's on the list. The Mount Rushmore, it doesn't matter to me. Jerry is the best receiver of all time. Ricky Henderson is the greatest leadoff hitter and stolen base person of all time. So what an amazing athlete. He could have played football. And then Steph, to me, has surpassed them all now. And that's just not the typical, because all we do is we have these blinders on from the last 5 or 10 years and we forget what came before. Like Draymond Green was stupid enough the other day to say that the Warriors era for like a 4-year period was the greatest in NBA history. And it's like, dude, for a guy who thinks he knows the game like he should, nobody's going to touch the Celtics. They won 11 championships in a row. I mean, look, I know I'm sitting in the Bay Area here, but let's have a little bit of perspective. The game wasn't born in like 2000 or something like that. So not enough people have perspective, and I get it because you didn't see those teams play, and neither did I. But still, I know how many great players were on that team. I read a little bit about history of the game. And if you won 11 straight championships, that's the greatest era. And then we can debate that from there. But whatever, again, I say I don't care about anybody's list, and Draymond is more than welcome to have his own list. And I don't have to agree with it, and neither do you. But as I look at Curry, so first and foremost, I have to take it out of basketball first and say, to me, and this is a major, major statement, he's the greatest Bay Area athlete of all time. And that's with Barry and Willie and Joe and Jerry and Ricky Henderson. Steph surpasses them all. And the reason why I say that is because it's not only the on-the-court stuff, and maybe I should take this out of it, but he's the greatest ambassador. He's the ambassador of the sport. He's a CEO of the Warriors. He built the Chase Center, not with his own hands, but you get the idea. Nobody has revolutionized the game of basketball like he has. And the reason I say that is, whether it be a dunk with Jordan or dominance of any big man, you can go all down the line from Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, whatever your guy is, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Hakeem, Shaq, whoever your favorite is. It just depends on an era. Kobe Bryant was absolutely amazing. But the difference between Steph Curry and all the guys I just mentioned, or anybody else that you want to put in there, or whoever your guy is that Steph Curry did it. Maybe he's 6'3". He came into the league very young, very skinny, and he just outworked everybody. So, yeah, he's got physical traits, don't get me wrong, and his dad, Dell, obviously gave him some of those basketball skills that he honed year in and year in and year in and year out. But Steph Curry doesn't do it by jumping out of the gym. Steph Curry doesn't do it through size, athleticism, strength, power. He does it through ways that are, I'm not going to say relatable to you and I, but he's not this dominant physical presence. And that's where I have just so much more respect for Steph Curry, because he didn't do it because, like Shaquille O'Neal, and this is one of the knocks against Shaq, and I like Shaq a lot, and I don't really knock him for this, is that his work ethic wasn't that great, and he just did it with power. He was just a pure power player, and I'm like, yeah, and so people knock him for that. Kobe had athleticism that was absolutely ridiculous. Jordan had absolutely ridiculous athleticism. These are God-given things that you won the genetic lottery. Congratulations, you won the genetic lottery. And so you hone those skills, don't get me wrong, but Steph Curry, just through hard work, changed the game. And you can have the greatest of the greatest of the greatest of the greatest, and they don't change the game. There's a handful of those guys in history, let alone in our lifetime. You know, Bill Walsh from the sideline changed the game with his offensive philosophies. Steph changed the game. Like right now, there's just, it used to be when I was growing up, you dump it down to the center, the big guy, and I don't know what happened to all of them, but when I was growing up, Hakeem and Patrick Ewing and David Robinson and, to a lesser extent, your Tim Duncans and Karl Malones, and, the offense started on the block. You kicked it down low. If they came with a double, then the ball swings around. If not, then that guy's going to the rim. Charles Barkley's getting the ball down low. And that's just that was the pivot point of the offense, was let's kick it down low. Let's see what's going on down there. If the double comes or whatever, you want to get the ball closer to the basket for an easier shot. That was the game, right? You had mid-range guys, everything like that. Now, again, for better or worse, and aesthetically, a lot of people think for the worse, Steph Curry started shooting the three. The rest is history. Big guys shoot three. Everybody shoots three. If you can't shoot, we were talking about this on the chat last night with the guys, which is we were talking about who's going to start for the Warriors when Jonathan Kuminga comes back. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you start Kuminga, who's not a real good three-point shooter, and you start Draymond Green, who has gotten better, but it isn't a great three-point shooter, and you got Jimmy Butler, who doesn't shoot threes, and then it's just Curry and Podziemski. You don't have enough shooting on the floor in today's NBA. So you may have to keep Moody in there, and Kuminga's going to have to lead off the bench. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of teams is, do you have enough shooting on the floor? Because everybody's got to be able to shoot, because if you can't shoot, then all of a sudden it's like, all right, hang on a minute. You don't have enough guys on the floor. We can defend you much easier. So he is I'm telling you something here, but I'm trying to kind of intertwine everything or knit kind of everything together in this whole thing about Steph Curry and why it's hard to come up with superlatives. But I think what you have to do is, I think you have to leave the game of basketball and you have to start looking at Steph, the whole ball of wax of Steph Curry, the American Idol Steph Curry, off the court, on the court, endorsements, CEOs, all the different things. The fact that he never says anything wrong. I don't, where you look at, and I'll give LeBron James this credit. LeBron James was on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 17. His junior year of high school, they were broadcasting his games on ESPN, and the biggest transgression of his career, other than being annoying in general, but the biggest transgression in his career was, I'm taking my talents to South Beach. So whether you want to like LeBron or not, he's lived a life for the last, age 17, what's he, 40 now? Majority of his life, the last 23 years for LeBron James, very few transgressions in a world that is full of them, right? We got cameras everywhere because everybody's got their phone and they're waiting to get you, right? We build you up to the top as an athlete or an entertainer or politician or whatever it is. We build you. And then when you get to a certain point, we decide we want to break you down, right? We want you to rocket back down to earth. So LeBron James has avoided that. Steph Curry, to my knowledge, and again, I've met him and interviewed him. I'm not saying we're friends. He probably would know who I was if, and I've told you the John Stockton story, if we were in the Delta room, although he doesn't go to the Delta room. He's got his own private jets and all that kind of stuff. I think he would probably say hello or something like that, but we wouldn't get into a deep conversation. It's nothing like that. But I know a lot of people who know him quite well, and you don't know everybody. Eugene Robinson the night before the Super Bowl, look it up. But so you don't know everybody. So there could be a transgression. His wife might say he doesn't make the bed or doesn't put the dishes in the dishwasher, or there might be something minor like that I don't know about. Seems to be a doting father, all these different things. Maybe the worst thing he did last night was, did you see the video where his mom, who's just, I don't mean to make this a creepy thing, but I'm not sure her age. She just is, she's unbelievable. She's flawless. She's very beautiful. But he throws the jersey. So he has the jersey from the game last night, and he throws it into the crowd, and his mom kind of looks at it. And then a minute later, she smells it for some reason, as moms are wont to do. Like, this thing needs to go into the wash. And he probably throws it to her so that they can, I scored 56. We're going to put this thing on the wall. And she smells it and goes, oh, God. Like, of course, it's like, he's just sweaty guy. Like, that's okay. There's his kryptonite. He's a sweaty guy, and his jersey stinks after the game. That's the worst thing you can say about Steph Curry. But we're getting to the point with Steph where, and then I'm going to go out to the chat line and get your thoughts on this. What else can you say about Steph Curry after last night? But we're getting to the point with Steph where it's got to go beyond basketball. So I think in the Bay Area, I think he's the greatest Bay Area athlete. I thought about it deep and hard last night, and I thought, can I say it? I mean, he's 37. He doesn't, even if he doesn't win another thing. And again, that's with Barry and Willie and Joe and Jerry and Ricky Henderson and others. There are others, but we've been graced with some of the greatest athletes of all time, some of the greatest players of all time, some of the greatest personalities of all time. Willie Mays is everything. He's amazing. He's considered to be the best all-around baseball player of all time. And if there weren't things around Barry Bonds, he might be considered that. And Joe Montana is on the short list of great quarterbacks of all time. And Jerry is the greatest wide receiver of all time. And Ricky Henderson is the greatest leadoff hitter and stolen base guy, and maybe combination of power and speed in the history of baseball. One of them, not the one, but one of them. So, I mean, we've been blessed with guys who are not just really, really good for being Bay Area athletes or having played in the Bay Area. We've been blessed with players who are considered to be the best ever in their sport, in Willie Mays' case, or certainly at the most important position or the highest profile position in all of sports, which is Joe Montana. And it's debatable, and Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, all that stuff. Have your own list. Have at it. I don't care. Joe's on some list, and it's absolutely accurate. So we've had some great ones. So I think Steph is at the top of that list, and that's saying something. So we can disagree or agree with that. And then when it comes to just all time, combination of things, the American Idol, Steph Curry. So he's great. If we made a list, it would be off the court. He's had few, if any, transgressions. What's the worst thing Steph's ever done? And I don't mean to make this proclamation on his day he scores 56. But honestly, he's not even had I'm taking my challenge to South Beach moment that LeBron had. I don't know that they've had anything, have they? I can't think of anything off the top of my head where you said, yeah, but there's that with Steph. Yeah, but there's that with Steph. Remember that one time Steph did this or said that? I don't remember it. Now, maybe because another team could say something like, damn, he did that to our team. That's different. That's a totally different thing. But I don't know that Steph Curry has any transgressions on his sheet. I think he's played it perfectly. So that's what I'm saying is if I expand it out to just all players who were at this level of CEO, off the court, spokesman for the team, example for the league, played at a certain level, changed the game the way that he's changed the game. Jordan was amazing, and I think Jordan's the best player in the history of the game. And I'm biased because I saw it up close. I covered that team. I know what he meant to the league at that time, all those different kind of things. I think Jordan's the greatest of all time, but he's not a better CEO off the court and all the different things because he had the gambling thing and there's a lot of different things around him. He changed the game in this way. Nobody can touch Jordan in the merchandising and the Jordan brand. They can all kiss the ring of Michael Jordan when it comes to endorsements off the court. Did you see the other day the highest paid athletes of 2024? Steph was on the list at $153 million. He was 2. Well, 53 was on the court. $100 million of Steph's earnings in 2024 were endorsements because everybody knows all these. The toughest thing to find for these companies who are willing to throw millions of dollars at a guy is he going to screw up at some point? Like, is he going to make our brand look bad? Or we're going to have to go, remember Tiger Woods, right? The whole situation with his ex, all that money that people had in an endorsement standpoint in golf was Tiger Woods. And they're like, damn, you got to pull the money. And they've had to do that before with certain guys. The guys off the top of my head are Jordan because of the branding, but he had some issues. He would be on that list. Peyton Manning is maybe the football version of what Steph is. And as great as Peyton Manning is, I don't know that he revolutionized the game. He is certainly part of the first family of football with his dad, Archie Manning, being a great quarterback. His brother, looks like Arch Manning out of Texas, is going to continue the tradition. So the Mannings are amazing. And they're kind of like the Currys, right? You had Del Curry. You have obviously Steph's brother. His mom is amazing, right? He's related to Damian Lee. I mean, the Currys might be the first family of basketball, just like the Mannings are the first family of football. Very, very similar. And both he and Peyton just get it. They were born into it. That's their whole life. They understand it. They weren't intimidated. Peyton Manning has been a great CEO off the field. Peyton Manning, the Manning cast, all the things. He's funny. He's a great endorser. He's hosted Saturday Night Live. He's done all those things. So the closest thing off the top of my head is Peyton Manning. I would still put Steph ahead of him. Jordan, because he was a great endorser and a great player, is on that list. But, quarterbacks could be, Brady, I guess you put Brady on that as well. And Brady, like Steph, just a great CEO, very buttoned up, dresses very nice, had the supermodel wife. But again, he's got now this is not a knock on Tom, but, he got divorced. He's okay at broadcasting. We're going to see what he is as far as a CEO. I could see Steph doing what Tom is doing right now, not so much as a broadcaster, but running a team, which, let's be honest, I don't care if Brady owns 5% of the Raiders. He's running 100% of the operations. They brought this guy over from Tampa that's supposedly the GM. I'm telling you right now, Tom Brady's running the operation. We'll get into Stafford a little bit later. So if you just joined the show, Chalkboard episode 73, Curry's 56, what can you say? And then greatest Bay Area athlete. That's kind of where we are. And like I said, what else can you say? And I'm expanding this beyond basketball. I think this is the greatest Bay Area athlete of all time. And we've had a hell of a lot of them. As you can see on that list, Barry, Willie, Joe, Jerry, Ricky Henderson put on that list. I'm talking about the CEO, everything combined. Steph is number one. And then I'm going to expand the whole thing out to the greatest athletes in terms of look at it as American Idol. So he can rep your brand. He can rep the league. There's very few, if any, transgressions. I can't think of one that Steph has. I can't. The only, and it's not even a knock against Steph, and it was early in his career, was the ankles. But that wasn't his fault. And he signed a 4 and 44. And so early on in his career, he had some ankle issues, but that's not his fault. That was a physical thing. I can't think of a time where Steph said the wrong thing at the wrong time, or the wrong thing at the right time, or the wrong, whatever it was. He just hasn't had that. He doesn't do that. Every interview you see with him, and it could be right on the point, it could be on the court, it could be, he always says the right thing. He always says the CEO thing. He's just so well versed in saying the right thing. And it can be the toughest questions. And really, as much as an athlete can be, he is honest. I mean, that's the thing that's amazing is these guys, I think you and I were talking about this yesterday, or maybe I was doing it on Krug Show, actually, the other night. I used to have Bob Myers on weekly when we were on 95.7 The Game. And I would go back, I would drive home, and I'd listen to what Bob Myers said after the interview. And I thought the interview was a great interview. And then I'd go back and I'd say, Bob said nothing. Or we'd have Billy Bean on from the A's, and I thought we had this great conversation, and I'd listen back to the 15 or 20 minutes with Billy, and I thought at the time he gave us stuff, and he gave us nothing. There was nothing that Billy Bean said there that was remotely, I'm not going to say interesting, because it was interesting, but he didn't tell me anything. He was just so versed in it. But Steph has this ability to say something, but it's not offensive to anybody. I mean, you're just like, wow, he just said this thing. And he's pretty honest, like through this whole process of them not winning, and it looked pretty bad. And we'll get into the Warriors and the win last night and where they are, because just to give you a little teaser of something I want to talk about, they have the it again. You know, I don't know how far it's going to take them. And you can disagree with this because this is what we do in this room, but Steph has the it. The Warriors have the it again. We're only, 7-1 with Jimmy now, 8 games into this. That's 10% of the season. So we can't make wild, thoughts on their back, this, that, and the other. But I will say this, and I think this is a fair statement, because I have a show I have a show 6 days a week. So we talk about this all the time. I can't just say, we'll see. Well, we'll just have to see. And you'll just go later. I'm going to another YouTube channel, or I'm going home, or I'm going to go talk to my wife, or I'm going to do something, because Lund's sitting on the fence. He's got splinters in his ass because he just won't get off the fence. Like, say something. And I'm not saying something to be wild. What I am saying is, based on the information we have on a short sample size with the Warriors, I feel confident in saying they have the it back. The it. They just have it. They're blowing teams out. They are having fun. They're smiling. They're laughing. I'm not going to go so far as to say that Draymond Green saying we're going to win the championship. And that made headlines, and I laughed at it, because what do you want Draymond Green to say? He's on the team. Don't you want him to think they can win the championship? Like, people act like that's so crazy. Like, oh my God, how could Draymond Green say that? Like, me and you can say that. I don't know about that. But I'll tell you this, Steve Kerr better believe it. Jimmy Butler better believe it. I can go through the whole team. They all better believe it. So, the Giants better believe it. The Niners better believe it. Like, you better walk into the room as a professional athlete and say, we're going to win the championship. Now, you and I can poke holes in that all we want, but you better say that. So anyway, that's my diatribe on Steph. Greatest Bay Area athlete of all time. And that's not recency bias. That's not recency bias. And I take everything into account. But the one thing that does it for me is, as great as, and again, I'm not disparaging anyone when I say this, but as great as Willie was, and Willie, again, whatever you needed to have as a positional player, Willie Mays had it. You want speed? Got it. Power? Got it. Arm? Got it. Defensive ability? Got it. I mean, Willie had everything, and he had the personality to match, and there's a reason why, and I've talked to enough Giants and friends with enough Giants to know the respect that Willie had. So, that's one thing that we'll see in time. Will Steph Curry be around the team? Those kind of things. Is Steph going to stay in the Bay? Probably. Is he going to be around the Warriors all the time? Like, if I'm Joe Lacob, the first thing I'm telling Steph, even if I have to trade him at some point during his career, which right now that has gone completely out the window. But if I, look, whatever you want, you got. Like, the whole franchise is where it is because of you. So whatever, this building is because of you. So whatever you want in the future, you got it. Like, you just name it. Like, I can't give you 51% of the team, but I can do a lot. That's all I'm saying. So the two things on Steph to me is, I kind of brainstormed and thought to myself, what the hell can I say? Because I got to say something. I have a show. People are tuning in. They want to know, like, what does this all mean? What does this latest Curry flurry mean? And I think it means that there's no doubt he's the greatest Bay Area athlete of all time. And then if I even expand it beyond the realm of us here in this area, and how fortunate we are to having watched this guy both on and off the court, how it's done, how it should be done, is I just don't know that from a standpoint of combination of American Idol, CEO, on the court, off the court, endorsements, all the things right now that you're required to do. All these guys who get paid and want to get paid. I'm a max player. You know what goes along with being a max player, being what Steph Curry is? And I don't expect everybody to do that. But if you're going to take max money, then you need to be a max leader. That's what it is all these guys want the max money and they don't want everything that goes along with it. And Steph Curry says, bring it on. Bring it on. Bring it on from a league standpoint. Bring it on from a team standpoint. Bring it on. All these endorsers, all the things I have to do. Like the things that Steph Curry had to do over All-Star Weekend was amazing. I don't think the guy even slept 1 minute. So I did criticize. I said, well, he's got to be in the 3-point. And I talked to some people who are like, dude, he literally could not be in the 3-point. Like he was going to drop dead. But anyway, the way he works out, the way he deals with people, the way he deals with fans, like all the different things that in a lot of things we don't even realize that Steph Curry does. He never seems like he's put out by anything. He signs all the autographs. He knows that all these people have come from miles and miles away, flown on airplanes, driven, come from other countries to see him play. And if he doesn't play on a certain night, he'll go over to the fans and sign all the autographs and take all the pictures. I know that seems like a really, easy thing to be like, well, that's what he should do. A lot of guys just don't. I mean, like I said, I've been around it and I've stood there, watched in person and covered these teams where these athletes will just walk right by the fans and just not say anything. And that's their right. And I don't know what's going on in their day, but I'm just like, my God. So anyway, that's 36 minutes into the show. It's a pretty long diatribe, but I just kind of wanted to set that up because Steph deserves it. And I have some cuts and everything, and we're going to play what Steph did last night if you missed it. But I just want to get your thoughts on it of what can we say? What else can we say about Steph that hasn't been said? And I thought, we have to expand it beyond basketball because there's just nothing to say. There's nothing to say about Steph Curry. And here's the other thing about eras. I don't know how anybody is going to explain what Steph Curry has meant to the Warriors, what he's meant to the NBA, in the way that he changed the NBA, in the type of guy that he was. Because if you didn't see it, then it's pretty far. It's inexplicable. It really is what he's done and how perfect he's been to this point. And I'm sorry that I have to do this. And I don't want to put a jinx on Steph at all, but I've said this all before, so I don't think it's going to happen. But if you had to design the perfect player on and off the court, I'm not so sure it wouldn't be him. That's all. I know there's others who have more physicality and more athleticism and all these kind of things. But if you said to yourself, this is the last thing I'll say, and then let's get it out to you and then some highlights. This isn't the last thing I'll say, but if you had to design somebody from scratch and you said, I want it to be a player and the person and the CEO and the endorser and the whole thing, and you said, I want to start a franchise, it might be Steph. I mean, that maybe that's the biggest compliment I can give. Maybe that's the thing is I'm kind of rambling through this whole thing in what can you say? And that's what I've got on the chalkboard. Steph's at 56. And what can you say about Steph Curry at age 37 is maybe that if I started a team and I wanted that player to set the culture for my team and the way we were going to work and the type of team we were going to be, and because the component of business, I just want to explain one thing to you, which is all these sports are fun and they love the passion and all these commissioners and everything. But at the end of the day, you know what all the other owners who they ultimately work for are saying to them is they're saying, how are you going to make us money? So what this is the wolf is the business side, the sheep's clothing is the sports side. And we all love the sports, but it's all about the business. Joe Lacob wants to win. We've had this conversation before. Jerry Jones, Mark Cuban, there's certain owners who they're dying to win. But for the majority of the owners, it's what are you going to do to make me money? And Steph Curry does it on the court and he does it off the court. The TV ratings are through the roof when Steph plays. The people want to be involved in the NBA because Steph is involved in the NBA. He has made Joe Lacob billions upon billions. He's made the league billions upon billions. And Joe Lacob can go to bed at night knowing that Steph Curry is the CEO of his basketball team. And Under Armour knows it, and any other brand that he is associated with, they can go to sleep knowing that Steph Curry is their lead endorser, and he's not going to go out and do something stupid. That there's not going to be something in the morning that they wake up to and there's going to be a mugshot of Steph. This is not going to happen. There's not going to be a domestic violence report on Steph. Now, again, as I say this, who knows? Because we don't know what everybody's all about. But he's been doing this and he's at age 37. So wouldn't we have known something? I mean, you think you would. I have a million skeletons in my closet. Are you kidding me? I couldn't run for political office. I just don't know that there's anything that again, Steph sweats and he stinks. That's it. That's the worst thing I think that we can find out is his mom smelled the jersey last night and went, oh my God. We're not hanging this on the wall. We've got to wash this. It smells terrible. That's it. That's the worst thing you can say about Steph. He stinks. He might have to get some of that industrial strength, pit stick. That's it. All right. I keep going off on this. Good morning, Harry Johnson. Thank you very much. A donation to the kitty this weekend, which what will it go to this weekend? Well, it'll go to X. It will go to a child in college, and it will possibly go to, well, we might go make a trip up to Hanson's this weekend, like I said, but the weather might not be good. They're doing a vodka release. Vodka. Bill M. Very good to see Bill M. this morning. Globally, Steph is an icon. LeBron is polarizing. No comparison globally. Steph is lined up almost with Ali. Ooh, good call there, Bill M. Steph is the Bay Area GOAT. Mays number 2. I'd agree with you there. I mean, I hate to put Willie Mays number 2 because I just, I don't know the intricacies of Willie. I met Willie one time. So I'm not going to sit here and say I know Willie Mays because I don't. I just know the stretch and the reach and how great he was and all these kind of things. I don't know that Steph is going to be ever considered to be the best. Like when we hear Steph's name, we hear revolution or, what he did for the game and all these kind of things. But then it's the somehow GOATs or the Mount Rushmores or whatever. And I really don't care. It's Jordan, it's LeBron, it's Kobe, it's Wilt, it's Kareem, it's any of those guys. He's not really mentioned in that realm. And I don't really care, to be honest. I'm just saying if I'm starting a team, I'm considering Steph to lead it because I want a certain culture. And that's kind of what's going on with Steph Curry. So it's just amazing what he's doing. Hang on one second because I got a dead mouse here. Not literally a dead mouse. My mouse is dying, and so I can't move this thing. So I want to see some of the other things. So hang on one sec. This happened to me last night during the chat, and I had to plug this thing back in because there's other people saying stuff, and I can't get to it. I'll put up Sons. By the way, it's great to see Sons of Johnny LeMaster. He's one of my favorite guys, and he must have been busy. I haven't seen him for a while. Warriors covered and got the money line plus 250 halftime wager. You are the man, Johnny. You are the man. I'm going to pop that up in just a second as soon as my mouse gets going back again. But, yeah, that's the one thing I didn't say, and I want to pop some other things up there, so I'm stuck until I get this mouse going. But the Warriors are down in that game. And I've got, like I said, I'm going to play all these highlights from last night as soon as I get this thing back going again, and I'll pop up some of the donations. So thank you very much for doing that, Bill M. We appreciate it. Sons of Johnny LeMaster. I'll pop yours up. Thank you, Harry Johnson, guys that are donating to the show this early. And it's a good time to just say this. Hang on one sec. By the way, pink edition of a sugar-free pink edition of Red Bull, which I shouldn't be drinking. My doctor already told me no more energy drinks. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So I got the coffee and I have the Red Bull today. Let me see if this thing is working now. I don't know. Last night I got to leave this plugged in overnight. There we go. We got it working again. Okay. Very, very good. Doing some producing on air. It was just dying on there for a second. There we go. There's our good friend, Sons of Johnny LeMaster. Warriors covered and got the money line plus 250 halftime wager. You're the man. Yeah, they're getting smoked at half. And I think that half-court shot kind of got the rest of the team going a little bit. And so if you, like Johnny said, you went the halftime wager, absolutely brilliant on your part. So let's play some highlights from last night before we move on. And again, if you're just joining us for episode 73, Steph Curry's 56. What can you say? I've said a lot about it, and I am going to get to the chat line because some people are like, well, you could say this. So let me get out to that. Greatest Bay Area athlete. We have a great list of Bay Area athletes. Steph's at the top. I would agree with Bill M. I think that then it goes to Willie Mays and then maybe to Joe because he was a quarterback. But it's debatable. It's absolutely debatable. But here's what's cool about Curry. So February 27th, I don't know what it is about February 27th, but he had the 54 at the Garden. Let me click this up before I play the highlight. So this is what Steph has done on February 27th, his favorite day of the year, clearly. So the 54, look at that young Steph Curry there. My God, I'd card him for bubblegum. So Steph Curry at the Garden had 54 and 11 three-pointers. We played this highlight for you yesterday, 46 points, 12 three-pointers. Bang, bang. That was in Oklahoma City, and we'll play that highlight for you in a minute. And then last night, the bearded Curry there with 56 and 12 three-pointers last night against Orlando. So look at that, 11, 12, and 12 three-pointers made on February 27th. So if you want to do some wagering, if you want to do some over-unders, remember February 27th next year, and whatever the over-under on prop bets for Steph Curry on three-pointers made on February 27th, speaking of betting, Johnny LeMaster, Sons of Johnny LeMaster, go put a note in your, nobody has a day planner anymore, but just put a note in your phone for next February 27th and remind yourself that whatever the over under for Steph's makes on threes on February 27th, take the over next year. 11, 12, and 12 in his career, 54, 46, and 56, as you can see on the graphic there. So take the over next February 27th on Steph made threes. Here is New York, New York, OKC, and Orlando. This is Feb 27 days for Steph. Let me go back.
The screen, got enough room. Again, butter. Steph Curry, his 11th three of the night. Curry from downtown. It's good. Curry from way downtown. He's still with multiple timeouts. Neither has a foul to give. Curry from downtown. Puts it in. Steph and Curry. The Green's made some huge defensive plays. Curry for three. Nails it. 10 three-pointers. Curry, another three. Oh, it's good. The Curry eruption continues. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry with 0.6 of a second remaining.
Curry. Okay. Steph is 5 of 6. 3 threes. That just typified the whole half. Steph from three-quarter court. Curry hits a three from beyond midcourt to end the half. And the Warriors build on a lead after just getting it. Curry three. Got it! Steph with 8 made threes. Going to put the 6'10 Wagner on Steph. Fading, firing, hitting again. Lost the handle. Curry to beat the buzzer for three. Good! Steph's got 12 threes.
There's nothing else to say, and that's NBC Sports Bay Area. And the last part of it, it's like I said, that's why when I woke up this morning, the first thing I thought of is, what more can you say? And I said, well, I have a talk show. I got to say a lot. So that's why I kind of expanded it into Bay Area athletes. And then I thought, if I'm going to start a team and I need a CEO / great player in the history of sports in general, I'm not so sure I don't start it with Steph Curry. And you just watch it last night. And it used to be like you heard Bob Fitzgerald there at the end. They put they put Franz Wagner on Steph there at the end, and they should have taken Wagner out of Kuminga, but that's a whole nother story. The guy's 6'10", and it used to be that you could, early in his career, you could physical Steph. You can't anymore. He's gotten big and strong. It used to be that you could put size on Steph. You can't anymore. You just saw what he did. He put Wagner in a blender right there. There's nothing you can do. You can double him, but then he's going to find another guy that's wide open. You can try to take the ball out of the hands, but he's become such a great ball handler that, you saw with Wagner there, he's going to dribble around you. There's certain guys are too small, certain guys, whatever. There's nothing you can do. And it's not that I don't think that Kevin Durant might be the most unstoppable player in the league because it's 7 foot, the way he can handle and the different things Durant can do, or he can just rise up and shoot over you. But I'm not so sure that Steph is the same way. There just used to be ways to defend him, and you can just see in those highlights, there's not anymore. There's certain guys who have had success with him in the past, but not very many. I can remember like Avery Bradley comes to mind. Marcus Smart at times has been decent against Steph, but you can't do it, and you can't constantly try to double him and all those kind of things. He'll split the double teams, find wide open guys. He's unstoppable. So as he's done this throughout his career, it's just incredible what Steph has done. Let me just play one cut from Steph and Steve Kerr after the game. And this is courtesy of Sam Gordon, who does a tremendous job covering the Warriors with the Chronicles. So let me play these back to back, and then I want to just get your thoughts. What more can you say about Steph Curry? Are you down with me saying that Steph Curry is the greatest Bay Area athlete of all time? And I'm talking on the court, off the court. And then as far as a CEO is concerned, a CEO athlete, give me a better one. Jordan was really, really good. Peyton Manning is really, really good. Brady was. Again, if I'm looking at culture, I'm looking at on the court, I'm looking at off the court, I'm looking at all the different things that Steph Curry does, the way that he is so great with fans, just everything you have to be as an athlete or choose to be as an athlete. Steph Curry's the best at it. And like I said, the biggest transgression that Steph's ever committed was maybe last night when he threw his mom Sonia the uniform and she smelled it and went, oh my God, my boy stank. And that's the worst thing you can say about Steph Curry. There you go.
And just having fun with it.
He was due for one of those.
Oh, hang on. There you go, right here.
And we would be able to have a little bit more juice in the second half, and that's kind of how it played out. But they didn't have too much going in the first quarter, but once you see a couple go down, juices start flowing and the rim grows, and just keep shooting and just having fun with it.
He was due for one of those. That's what I love about Steph, and one of many things I love about Steph. He always shoots the half-court shots. He doesn't care about his percentage, and he's had so many the last couple of years that were right there. And as soon as he let it go, I said, "That's him." I just felt it, and I thought that set a good tone for the second half. Gave us a little bit of a lift. Everybody was excited, and then obviously our defense was dramatically better second half.
All right, that's fine. Whatever about your defense? Just talk about Steph Curry, please. There you go. That is Steph Curry on February 27th in his career. Just one more time next year. Take the over on the prop bet on threes for Steph Curry on February 27th at the Garden. 54 points, 11 made threes for the young Steph Curry. 2013, 2016 OKC. Yesterday was the anniversary, by the way, of that game. So those two games right there, both on the 27th, and 46 and 12 made threes. February 27th, then February 27, 2025, 12 made threes again, 56 points for Steph Curry, and you saw all the highlights there, including a long one and a half-court one that, as Steve Kerr said there, kind of got them going. And as I said, as you look at the score at the end, you go, well, that wasn't that close. They were getting blown out. And then you had everything with Steph Curry. And just real quick, let me just throw up the box score real quick. Because what this will show you is that he just carried him. If you didn't see the game last night, he absolutely just carried him. Quentin Post, I'll give Quentin Post some credit and some love here. He was good last night, but other than that, and there just wasn't a lot. You can look at that right there. Jimmy Butler's worst game as a Warrior, 1 for 7 for 5 points for Jimmy, 0 for 3 from 3 times to the free throw line. Moody, just okay, 1 for 5. Draymond, 3 for 8. Pods, 3 for 12. Gary Payton, but he's not a big-time scorer. But the only other guy that you could say had an above-average game, Quentin Post right there, 7 of 9, 2 of 4 from 3. He had 18 points. What else you got? I mean, it was really a two-man gang and really a one-man gang. Curry goes 16 of 25, 12 of 19 from 3, took 19 threes, and hits every shot from the free throw line at 12 for 12. So Steph Curry just basically, other than Quentin Post, just a one-man gang last night and carries them kicking and screaming to that win over Orlando. So there's just, like I said, there's just not a lot to say when the way that Curry is playing. You're just like, that's amazing. So I've gone over everything in terms of the superlatives of Steph Curry. So let me get out to your thoughts on this whole thing, because I've yapped for about an hour on Steph Curry when the first thing on the chalkboard after 56, Curry's 56 is what can you say? And it's like, Lund, you've talked for an hour. What do you mean, what can you say? That's all you've done is what can you say? So let me see. Let's see. Let me go out here. Moody 7 for 7 on the 3-point line, or from the free throw line. Absolutely. That's huge. That's huge. And I guess I shouldn't say that it's a one-man gang, but I mean, man, it's crazy. Good morning, Steve. Steph, an unselfish player. What athlete is willing to be second to KD? You tried to keep KD, or Steph is all about the team and not me. So refreshing. You're right. Look, when you set up a superstar team, I mean, could you ever imagine? Now, maybe I'm wrong in this, because Steph is confident. Steph can be cocky. Certainly Steph on the court is, but then off the court, he's a totally different guy. But I don't know that Steph would have done the not 1, not 2, not 3. I don't know that that's what that necessarily is what Steph is all about. Hi, Skills. It was great to meet Skills last night. We had a great time in the chat. It was awesome talking to you and meeting you. That's what's amazing about athletes. I hoop for 14 to 38 regularly, and not once afterwards did I want to sit up and talk. I wanted to collapse on a couch. Yeah, that's the thing about Steph. And believe me, I've gone into locker rooms and talked to many different guys, and especially as flagships, going, hey, you're our player of the game. We need to get 2 minutes with you. And they just look up at you like, I hate you so much. And, they'd give you the standard answers. But when you listen to Steph talk, I'm going to make sure I'm saying the right thing here. Rarely, if ever, I'll say rarely, if ever, not all the time, but rarely, if ever, does Steph not answer a question in a thoughtful way. where he thinks about it or makes sure he says the right thing, and it really comes off rather quickly. It's not like he contemplates for a long time and thinks about what he's going to say. He just is programmed to say the right thing at the right time. And most of the time, it's about the other team or giving a compliment or about a coach or a player or another player or something that somebody else did. He's constant. That's why he's so great. You heard Kevin Durant. I played the cuts for you right after the All-Star game where, it was confusing that Durant didn't want to come back here. And I don't buy for a second it was because he didn't want to be traded to a place he well knows and could have easily fit in here very, very quickly. I didn't want to be traded at the deadline. It's like, I don't know if I buy that. I think when they do the Warriors' last dance, as I've told you many times, I think that there's going to be deeper rooted conversations that why he didn't want to come back here, but he just gave oodles and oodles of credit of how easy it is to play with Steph and how Steph, people don't understand this. On the court, Steph makes the game so much easier because it tilts the entire court. Everybody's got an eye on Steph. All 5 defenders are like, where's Steph? Where's Steph? Where's Steph? Damn, my guy just went backdoor. Where's Steph? Where's Steph? Where's Steph? Oh my God, that guy's wide open in the corner for a 3. It's constant. Okay, so on the court, Steph Curry makes a very difficult job of playing NBA basketball much, much easier for everybody. That's why everybody loves him. Plus, he's not ball dominant. He's not LeBron in that he has to have the ball in his hands constantly, or Luka or anybody like that. He can, if you want him to be ball dominant, he can be ball dominant. Like last night, he went, okay, rest of the guys suck ass tonight. Guess I'm going to have to take over. Jordan was great at that. Jordan would not, and most times at the beginning of a game, dominate a game. He would get others involved. He would make passes. And then if he had to do that, then Michael Jordan would go, fine, I'll take over the game. And he would. And that's how Steph Curry does it. He wants to get others involved. He wants to give others confidence early in the game, but he can be ball dominant. If nobody else is doing anything, believe me, he'll just say, fine, I'll just take the game over. But he doesn't have to. And so that's something that's amazing about Steph and why everybody loves playing with him. And then as far as off the court, so that's the on the court, but there's a huge off the court element, which and here's where he makes it easy again. He talks every night. You don't really have to talk to anybody else but Steph. It's nice to talk to Draymond and Quentin Post to go up there and guys will say certain things, but he takes the pressure off you from that standpoint too, because Steph will stay up there as long as you want Steph to stay up there. And I know that should be easy, but it's not. And it's night after night after night. And it's constantly being asked to do things. He's asked by his endorsers to do things. He's asked to do things from a charity standpoint, his foundation, all the different things he has going on. And oh, by the way, he's one of the greatest basketball players of all time and never has a misstep in the pregame, the postgame, or during the game. It's impossible what he does and the amount of time it takes to do these things. And he's not digging ditches, and I understand that. But for him to do what he does, and then somehow, because we had his trainer on Greg and I a million times, where in the offseason he has this demanding schedule, but yet he goes all around the world and does all these things and for these endorsers, and it's just what he does is beyond the realm of reality, I guess is what I'd say. Yeah, I said Mo Wagner. Yeah, it was Franz Wagner. I was wrong on that whole thing. That's a good call, Daniel. Yeah, I'd say that. Buster's pretty damn good. And he won a lot of championships, and I didn't put him on the list. That's how amazing it's been to have the kind of athletes we have, because Buster's going into the Hall of Fame. Very few missteps, if any. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Giants and what happens in terms. That's why, to be honest, I know I hate that term, to be honest, because I was going to lie to you, but I decided to be honest. I don't know that I would take a front office job where Buster Posey is. It's one thing to be part of the ownership group, something like that. And I guess they can complain that you didn't spend enough money, but everyone is looking at Buster Posey going, well, what's Buster going to do? And from what I've seen so far is that was cool to get Willie Adames in here, but I think financially the Giants are putting constraints on him, and it'll be interesting to see how much people have with Buster, and if they can differentiate the great player and champion he was and person he is to Buster Posey, the executive, if he doesn't get the Giants back on track. But yeah, Buster was interesting in that for people who don't know, and I think you do know this because it's been talked about and written about a lot of times, Buster Posey didn't like to talk to the media, not because he wasn't good at it. He was good at it. He was actually absolutely great at it, and he was pretty funny to boot. But if he knew that if he was too good with the media and gave him all these great quotes, they would run to him all the time. And that's what I was talking about Steph Curry taking the pressure off his team off the court, because that's what he does. He'll take the pressure off. He'll talk all the time, and he'll give you the quotes, and he's really good, and he never has a night where he's like, I don't want to talk. He never has left the building without talking, no matter how bad the game was. He knows he's got a responsibility as the leader of this team and as the CEO of this team to talk every single night. He does. And it doesn't matter what kind of game he has, and it doesn't matter if it was a loss to knock them out of the season. None of that matters. And during this season, before they grabbed Jimmy Butler, he had some nights where he was like, I don't know, man. There was days where I thought they're going to have to trade him in the offseason. And Jimmy Butler has changed all those things. Now, there's a long way to go in the season. If they somehow fell back in, like right now, they're 7th. So there's no guarantees. I think they're going to get to 6th. They're only a half game behind the Clippers now. But if they don't, go far, let's say they get knocked out in the play-in round and Kevin Durant has a 50-point night and they're done. That's going to kick everything up. There's no question about it. But right now they're riding high, 7-1 since they got Jimmy, and everything's great. That's just people are talking. Oh, look at you. Yeah, that was a rough time. 7-11, I grew up on Joe Barry Carroll, Sleepy Floyd, Purvis Short, but the Kings moved to Sack, cursing my fandom for 39 years. I totally understand that. Those are cool names. They just didn't win anything. I love Ronnie. That's a good call, Jacob. I love Ronnie. He's amazing. Just amazing. It's hard, even though Ronnie was as great as he was, that if you're a corner or a safety, to be on that different realm when it comes to the NFL. It's just quarterbacks. And that shouldn't matter. But Ronnie's just, what a great guy he is. Again, we've had just so many guys through the years that are astounding that I didn't even know, let's give some love, Bill M. We had Matthew Dellavedova. Look at you going St. Mary's on us. That was probably a different conversation, but I saw his name and I thought that I'd have to do that. Yep. We must acknowledge Enrique. Thankful. Timberwolves front office didn't know how to draft. Can you believe that? Like, if we were in Minnesota, I wonder how many times Timberwolves fans on sports radio talk about that. Like, is that over? Kind of like with Aaron Rodgers. Like, Rodgers in 2005 gets drafted by the Packers. Nothing against Alex Smith, but it's like, oh, man, if they'd taken Rodgers. And we've talked about that off and on for 20 years now. And I'm ready for that to be over. It's like, look, it is what it is. He's not coming to the Bay. He's kind of a jackass now. He's done. Like, can we not talk about Aaron Rodgers anymore? But I do wonder in Minnesota if they are constantly like Ricky. They had 2 shots. You're exactly right. Right in front of Steph, who was taken 7th, and they wanted to go to the Knicks, by the way, at 8. So the Timberwolves went point guard Rubio, point guard Flynn, and then Curry. Like, they 2 shots in a row. They went, we're going point guard, but we're not going that guy. Like, my God, man. And not that this is on the level of that. And hey, we'll give you D'Angelo Russell. You give us Wiggins and 7. Okay. But anytime what's the area code in Minnesota? Is it like 612? I think it's 612. Anytime I see a 612 on my phone, if I'm a Warriors executive, I can't pick that phone up fast enough. You want to trade? You want to trade? Seriously, the Timberwolves should be sending them flowers every single day. Every single day. Like, my God, you had 2 point guards you took in front of Steph Curry. Can you imagine, like, Don Nelson, and he's told the story. He wanted Curry. He said in that draft, he said his top 2 players were Blake Griffin, who was the first pick, and Steph Curry. And they were just sitting there going, please make it 7. Please make it 7. And then Minnesota's like, point guard, Ricky Rubio. And they're like, next pick. Point guard, oh, no. Johnny Flynn. They're like, yeah. 2 point guards in a row. And Steph Curry was sitting there and you didn't take one of them. Like, if I was a talk show host in Minnesota, I'd lead my show with that every day. It's a Vikings town. But still, I might talk Vikings and everything like Paul Allen, our good friend, does, not the former Seahawks owner and Microsoft guru. I'm talking about Paul Allen, the fine voice of the Vikings. Like, after they get done talking to Vikings, I would just remind everyone. I would just say, Ricky Rubio, Johnny Flynn. Anyway, what else are we talking about today? No, I wouldn't do that. Actually. What else do we got today? Anyway, I just think Steph, we're an hour 4 into the show, and good morning. We had to give Steph an hour today, and maybe we might even have to go back to this. Yeah, I'm down with you on this one. I love me some. Oh, you said deli. I thought you said Dell. See, that could send me on a thing about deli sandwiches, but it's not going to. No Elon Musk talk on the show. I saw it, but I'm not going to acknowledge it. What else do we have there? All right. If I missed anything, I just gave love to Steph for an hour, and he deserves it, calling him the best Bay Area athlete, the best CEO in history of sports. I'm getting on the verge of that. Like I said, Peyton Manning really good, Tom Brady really good. I'm talking CEO who you'd want to start your franchise with. Jordan, give me one. Give me one that's better than Steph. You're hard pressed because you go to bed at night as Joe Lacob going, he's in control of my franchise. I can sleep. You're going to bed as the CEO of Under Armour, which I still think is Kevin Plank. I had a friend that turned down a job. He was good friends with Kevin Plank growing up, the guy who's the CEO of, or was the CEO, I think he's still the CEO of Under Armour when they first started. He was a sports radio guy, friend of mine, and he goes, hey, I got a new apparel company. You want to be a part of it and invest in it? My buddy goes, nah, I'm good. Now, again, it's not like the guy who there's a guy who was involved in Apple, right? And they bought him out for like $700 or something. And if he hadn't done it, he'd have like $7 gazillion worth of Apple stock, whatever it was. So it's not like that, but it'd been pretty good. But he can sleep at night knowing that Steph is in control of his brand. I mean, it's like, I got Steph Curry. My goodness. All right. That's a lot of love for Steph, but he deserves it. Anything else? Did I miss anything? Lots of good conversations in there. I love it. Okay. All right, let's get to this on the chalkboard. So episode 73, happy Friday to everybody. If you're watching on any place, any stage, any platform, that could be Instagram at John Lund Radio, on X at John Lund Radio. You could be watching on Twitch today, 2 YouTube channels. I told you about 2 YouTube channels. Monday, we're going to unveil the second one officially. But John Lund Unleashed, please make sure that you're subscribed. You have your alerts on like yesterday. We've put out videos, also sent out emails to the Lund loyalists, and we did the chat yesterday. We'll do those every single month. So if you are part of the Lund Loyalist Club, I will make sure that we get you into one of those chats where we had like 4 or 5 guys yesterday, and it was really a good time. We got to know each other. It was a lot of fun. We asked questions, laughed, all that kind of stuff. So you can be a part of that. If you want to become a Lund loyalist, all you got to do is go to John Lund Unleashed, and there's tabs right there. There's a store tab. There's all this sort of stuff. So make sure that you check that out. And then we're on Facebook. That's my personal Facebook. I'm trying to get it to John Lund Unleashed, which you can join, which is just a show page on Facebook, John Lund Unleashed. They're making me have it go through my personal Facebook right now, so I'm going to try to get that fixed. But if you're on Facebook, so however you want to watch us, that's great. And then, like I said, moments after we go off the air, we just hit one button, and then the podcast goes out, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. And that's John Lund Unleashed as well. And then in one fell swoop, you can just get everything from shows, archives, podcasts, the blog, which I owe a blog entry today that I'm going to be writing a little bit later on today, johnlundunleashed.com, johnlundunleashed.com. So there you go. I do see some new people in the room today. Very cool. I want to make sure I acknowledge anybody. Please, please, please. One last thing, and then we'll move on and we'll do some stuff. We're at the Rap Sheet Reacts portion of the show, as we just gave an hour's worth of love to Steph Curry. But again, if you just joined and said, why isn't he talking about Curry's 56? At the end of every show, another thing I do is we post the show, and then we put the chapters, what they call the chapters. And right underneath this video, if you're watching it later, there's going to be chapters. So if you want to skip to something, you can skip all over the place. So I just want to hear what he said about Curry. Go right to the beginning, and it's got a breakdown of not only Curry, but exactly specifically what we talked about. So it's a lot of fun to go back because we jump all over the place, like you said, and I try to be as good as I can as far as the chalkboard. But you can click on certain things, and it's AI generated, so it's just like, boom, oh, he said this about Curry, said this about this. So it's really cool. So you can go back and you can watch that on your own time at John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. All right, let's get to this Rap Sheet Reacts. So you know the story about the Starbucks and him and Jordan Schultz, and they're in the middle of it, and Rap Sheet has to call security because the story is that Jordan Schultz, who's with Fox, said that Matthew Stafford and Tom Brady went skiing in Montana together. Rap Sheet downplayed it and said they just ran into each other, which is garbage. So Rap Sheet was told to try to protect him, and I can guarantee you why. And we're getting into insiders this week, and it's fun conversation to have. And I guarantee you I know why Rap Sheet was told that, because somebody within the Raiders organization went to Rap Sheet and said, bro, you got to say that Tom and Matthew Stafford, as dumb as it sounds, were in Montana at the same time at a ski resort and happened to run into each other because we don't want any, they're going to fine us. They're going to fine us if we meddled. And you know how that kind of stuff goes because everybody hits me up and goes, they can't do that. It's illegal. And it happens all the time. So I'm not buying for 1 second that Brady and Stafford is like, oh my God, you like to ski in the middle of Montana too? How crazy, especially at this time that we're recording you. Isn't this, boy, the timing is bananas. So anyway, the NFL came out and said, no, there's nothing wrong there. Because you know why? Because Rap Sheet said, oh, they just ran into each other. Jordan Schultz said, come on, man, no way. My sources say this. They got in a fight, not in a physical fight, but back and forth apparently at a Starbucks. And so a lot of comedy yesterday on this whole thing. So Rap Sheet, I'll give you a couple of these because these are hilarious. So the first one is Rap Sheet goes on weekly with the Pat McAfee show on ESPN. And so on the McAfee show, they're at the Combine, and Rich Eisen is sitting on set, and Daniel Jeremiah is sitting on set. And so this is hilarious. And they bring on Rap Sheet, and this is the intro that they gave him on the Pat McAfee show yesterday after this whole thing at Starbucks. Let me see if I can do what we got. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, play. Hold on a minute.
NFL Network's greatest Americano.
Yeah, he is.
Ian Rappaport.
All right, let's go to the
He's going to eat lightning and crap thunder in order of venti.
That's outstanding. That's my kind of sports talk, man, where guys have fun and all that kind of thing. By the way, they showed a tail of the tape on the McAfee show on those two, and I had no idea. So Jordan Schultz, the insider from Fox, they listed him at 6'2", 210, beefy, a big wide receiver. And they listed Rap Sheet at 5'5", 140. Now, we've had Rap Sheet on my show, not only on the phone, which you don't know how big a guy is, but we had him on numerous Super Bowls. And I do remember him being short and and kind of small, but 5'5", 140? I don't remember him being that small, but 5'5", 140 versus 6'2", 210, he's lucky that Jordan Schultz didn't take him out. I mean, you're talking 70 pounds, 5'5", 140? And then we got to play this as well. This is from inside the NBA, and Charles Barkley is going to talk about something like this. So here is, let me make sure we have this at the beginning. Here is Charles Barkley and the TNT boys last night knowing about the whole Starbucks Schultz versus Rap Sheet thing. And listen to Shaq at the end. Stay for the end of this. If you got to go somewhere, hang on a minute. Because I didn't know this about Jordan Schultz. If this is true, I didn't know this, but here you go.
Charles Barkley. Gentlemen, how are we?
I'm in a good mood, man.
Why is that?
Well, because I was at Starbucks today.
And?
It's dangerous in there, Ernie.
What happened?
Those fists flying everywhere. I was like, see, I don't normally go to Starbucks because that's where rich white folks go. I used to get
rich white folks go.
Yeah, I love to go with black folks.
That's the place where
that's what
apparently it's where a lot of reporters go.
But
apparently,
$2 coffee is where you have to be rich.
Ain't no $2 coffee. They should be drinking Folgers like the rest of us do.
Oh my God!
Hey, we're in the presence. Hey, Jordan Schultz of Fox verbally accosted Ian Rappaport of NFL Media at an Indianapolis Starbucks on Wednesday afternoon. The report was made to NFL security.
Shaq, you see that kind of word they use? Accosted.
Yeah, accosted.
Whooping his ass. That's what happened.
Yeah, Jordan.
Yeah, you'll stop talking now. Jordan. Get that Frappuccino thing right next time.
Hey, we're in the presence of royalty tonight. What?
What's that?
You know what's funny about that story?
What is?
I've been knowing Jordan for a long time. Of course, his father's Howard Schultz. He could have owned all the franchise, but he decided to go a different route. I've always respected.
Okay, I'm not saying this is the lead, but did you hear what Shaq just said there? I didn't know this. Maybe this is common knowledge. Jordan Schultz, the NFL insider for Fox at 6'2", 210, who wanted to beat up 5'5", 140-pound Ian Rappaport. No wonder Ian Rappaport reported it to NFL security. Jordan Schultz, according to Shaq, I think he's telling the truth there, is the son of the CEO, Howard Schultz. He started Starbucks. He was the one who sold the Sonics to Clay Bennett, who took him to Oklahoma City. That Howard Schultz. Jordan Schultz is his kid. That's what Shaq said. So they get in a fight at a Starbucks. If Jordan Schultz was an NFL insider, he would own Starbucks. and be a billionaire, multi-billionaire. And he decided, you know what? I'm not going into the coffee business. I'm not going into the family business. I'm going to be an NFL insider. And I'm going to fight Ian Rappaport someday at a Starbucks that my dad started. I don't know if Howard Schultz is still the CEO. I don't know if he sold out or what he did. But Jordan Schultz, which is a common last name, so I didn't ever put two and two together. But Shaq is saying, if that is true, I should have looked this up before saying it, but it sounded like Shaq was telling the truth. Like, I've known him for a long time. I respect him. He didn't go with the family billionaire fortune of Starbucks. He's the son of Howard Schultz. Well, Jazz fans saying it, so 100% is true. Was this common knowledge and I just didn't know it? Like, how funny is this? Jordan Schultz is the son of Howard Schultz, and he started Starbucks, and they're in a Starbucks getting in a fight. Like, what? And plus, that's a whole nother conversation. So, look, I love the NFL, but how about this? How about I take over Starbucks and I buy an NFL team? Like, Howard Schultz could buy an NFL team. Now, I wouldn't let him because then he would sell it to somewhere and it'd end up in Oklahoma City. So, no. You sell a team and it goes out of your market, especially a market like Seattle that's a great sports town. Great sports town. You can hate the Seahawks all you want or whatever the case may be, but Seattle is a great sports town. It's one of the few major that loves everything, loves professional sports, but is a huge college football, basketball. I mean, they talk about the Huskies and Oregon and Oregon State, a lot of alumni there in the Pacific Northwest for all those schools. It is a great, great sports town, regardless of what anybody says. And the Sonics should have never left. So Howard Schultz, his son's Jordan Schultz, like, blows my freaking mind. I'm like watching that going, wait, Like, I love sports and I love doing this, but if my dad started Starbucks, I'm pretty sure I'm going coffee. I'm pretty sure I'm staying there because now I could be the commissioner of the NFL. I could own a team for sure. Like, Dad, let's go buy a team. Insider Schminscheider. I'm going to own an NFL team. I had no idea Jordan Schultz' dad was Howard Schultz. That blew my mind when Shaq said that. And for a minute there, I'm like, are they going to start laughing? Like, is this a bit? Is this a joke? And he's like, no, I've known Jordan for a long time, and I respect what he's done because he could have been in Dad's family business, and he decided no go. And he's an NFL insider. I'm like, geez. And he could kick Rappaport's ass. So anyway, blows my mind. See, look at everybody's like, yeah, I did not know that. Look at this. Let's see, missed the sun. Yeah, absolutely. Look at this. You're going. Kemp, Peyton, Shrimp. Believe me, I was up there during those years. Those guys could play. Oh, you go back to Slick Watts, Downtown Freddie Brown, Dennis Johnson, Gus Williams. I mean, come on. They won the 79 championship. Lonnie Shelton. I'm going to go deep, man. Jack Sikma, Danny Vrains, Tom Chambers. They should have never left. Are you kidding me? Ridiculous that they left. My goodness, man. Johnny Johnson, DJ, Dennis Johnson. Sonics never should have left. But anyway, it seems like everybody but me knew that. I can't go with you on this. I cannot go with you on this. This is the random part of the show. Folgers was awesome in the 80s when you couldn't get good coffee. My mom, this is why it took me a long time. It took me a long, long time to like coffee because when I was growing up, we had the old Mr. Coffee and it was plastic and the coffee tasted like garbage coming out of it. So when I did try coffee, my dad was just straight up black coffee. My dad didn't put anything in it. And then as coffee progressed, my mom would be so busy. She had her own business and she was so busy that she would have me put a scoop of instant Folgers in a cup and with water and then put it in the microwave for a minute and then stir the thing up. And then she would have me take the powdered version because they didn't have a liquid version yet of Coffee Mate. So can you imagine the chemicals that are in everything that I'm just discussing here? So freeze-dried coffee, a powdered Coffee Mate, and like a splash of sugar, and it tasted like rat poison. And I'm not sure that I know what rat poison tastes like unless my wife's been putting it in my coffee, but it sounded good. It tasted terrible. Whatever you think tastes terrible. It was just, I took a sip of it one day and I'm like, I will never drink coffee ever because it was Folgers powdered Coffee Mate creamer and like a tiny bit of sugar. And I thought, if this is what it takes to wake you up in the morning, I will never drink coffee. I was a late coffee drinker. Probably started drinking coffee for real not even in college. I'm trying to think. I don't think I drank coffee in college. Everybody did. It was a really big deal. Like, it was kind of the beginning of all of it. Like, oh, coffee. I didn't drink coffee in college. I hated it. It was like, oh God. My mom drank Folgers. And so maybe just out of college or something, I started drinking coffee, but it was a while. And it might have been that. And now it's, now everybody's addicted to it. But if it came down to, it was just freeze-dried coffee, hot water, and you stirred it, and powdered whatever creamer, nobody would drink coffee anymore. It's terrible. And then the other part of that whole thing, and he got called down on it. Has Kenny Smith ever been to a Starbucks? He's like, it's $2 coffee. $2 coffee? You can't even get a free water for $2 at a Starbucks. $2? When's the last time you were at a Starbucks, dude? Like, you can't get a black coffee for $2 at Starbucks. I don't get black coffee at Starbucks. I don't get coffee at Starbucks at all. But I mean, even a black coffee is like $4 or $5, right? Low, no. Frente, Vente, 1 pump, 2 heat, the chai, whatever the hell. I mean, that's like $9. Yeesh, $2. Like, Charles Barkley's like, $2? What Starbucks you going to? Yeah, exactly. You need like $20. Terrible. Anyway, I didn't mean to go off a coffee tangent, but then again, I did. I haven't had like Maxwell House Folgers. Do they even still have that? Like the big cans. You'd walk down the coffee aisle and you'd buy a can of coffee. Like, there's no cans of coffee anymore. No way. In fact, you know what we used cans for? This is how old it goes back to. My dad used to take bacon grease and pour it into a coffee can that was underneath the sink. Like, that's what we did with bacon grease. Like, a coffee can. You have bags now. Like, we have bags of coffee, and it's good coffee. Like, it's a great era to be in coffee. Jordan Schultz. I still can't believe Jordan Schultz didn't go with the family business. Like, there's certain family businesses. Like I said, I've said this before. I love my dad like nobody else. He was an awesome guy. And I got done screwing around from college and working on a cruise ship and being a bartender and all these kind of things. And one day my parents said, "Are you ever going to be responsible?" And that's when I decided, when I was working as a bartender on a cruise ship, I'll get back to something in just a second, I promise. And those chapters, if you want to talk about Steph Curry, like I said, they're probably there by now if you're watching this later. Chapters, just click on them. You can hear what I said about Curry. But we're on the random part of the show today, which is, we're not at the bottom. We're actually still at, we're doing Rap Sheet Reacts, which I just think we finished. That says, boy, I put I did a bad job on a poor job on the chalkboard today. We're at Garrett says no to the Browns. That's what we're going to do next. But we're doing random things right now. So when I finished college, you probably know this. When I finished college, I had a girlfriend at the time, and we decided that we were going to go over to Hawaii for the summer, and I was going to bartend, and she was going to be a server, and we were going to just hang out for a few months because her best friend's dad was the CEO of then Aloha Airlines, which is out of existence. But anyway, they had this big place on Oahu, and we could stay there for a couple of weeks before we found a place. So we did, and then we found a place, and we stayed for the summer. And then I ran into a fraternity brother in Waikiki. I was working as a bartender in a bar back from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at a place called Malia's Cantina. It's gone now, but it was a Mexican restaurant, and we had live Hawaiian music. And so 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. was my shift. Made pretty good money. It was fun. And so I was going to go back, and we were probably a few weeks away from heading back to the fall and getting back to reality. Just had finished college. And a buddy of mine, and this is weird, and I don't know why we called him this, but his name was Bill. But we called him the Rhythm Pig. I don't know why we called him the Rhythm Pig. Everybody in college has a nickname, right? He was a fraternity brother of mine, and we called him the Rhythm Pig. He was from Chicago. And I'm bartending one night. It's probably 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I look across the bar, and I see the Rhythm Pig. And I'm like, it's the Rhythm Pig. Oh, my God. And so I walk over to him. I'm like, "Bro, what's going on?" And he's hammered. And he's in his slurring voice says, "I work on cruise ships in Hawaii. You should do it, man." And so basically what it was is you work like 2.5 months, 3 months on the ship, and then you get like 3 weeks off, and it's free room and board. You're underneath the ship. I mean, you're not underneath the ship, but you got the people, and then you're kind of underneath in these bunk beds and little small things, but it doesn't cost you anything to live there. So you're getting tips as a bartender. You're making pretty decent money, especially for that age. I was like 21, 22 years old, and you're bartending, and you can sock away a bunch of money. Now there's a lot of weird things that are going on, and you spend your money in ways that you probably shouldn't on a cruise ship like that, but you're basically trying to sock away money. And I thought that's a great idea. And so I go to my then girlfriend at the time and say, "Hey, I want to go to work on cruise ships. You should do it with me, and we'll stay." And she's like, "I'm getting back to life. It's fall. I have a job set up. Like, I don't know what you're going to do." And I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to stay here." So I ended up staying for a number of months, socking away a bunch of money. And then at some point, I needed to dry dock because there was way too much drinking and fun and all this kind of stuff. And finally, my parents called me one day and said, "Are you ever going to come to reality? Are you ever going to, get a real job?" And I said, "Well, I'm making pretty good money." So one day I just decided we were at a port. So these cruise ships would go port to port in Hawaii. They would just go to all the ports. I think it was called the one I was on was called the Independence. And so it would go into these docks. And you had everything you owned on you. It's not like I could stash stuff. So I just basically had a suitcase with the stuff. That's all I had. And one day I just decided I had enough. I drank too much. I'd partied too much. I needed to get back to reality. And the cruise wasn't over. I think we had a couple of 2-3 more days, but I needed to dry out. And so I grabbed my suitcase. I said, "Hey, I'll be right back." And I just, back in the day, no cell phone at that point, but I just remember getting on the closest phone I could find, booking a flight back to the mainland. And again, no Uber, so it was a taxi. Had my suitcase, jumped in a taxi, and I was out of there. And I just remember my boss calling, like, "Where the hell are you? Did you went into port? So people, you signed out. Where are you?" And I didn't return any of the calls. I was like, "I'm not returning that call." So anyway, then I just left. I was like, "Yeah, I'm done. I've had enough." And I got back to reality. I don't even know why I started that story now. I've told the story. Can anybody remind me why I was even talking about that story and why I even told that story? I have no idea. Hold on a second. You could drink too much? Oh, man. My liver every night on that cruise ship, even though I was the bartender, you would get I don't want to go on a tangent. I swear I want to get to the football, but one more thing. So what would happen, and this is really dangerous, and I think I've told this story before, is that my best friend on that cruise ship, his name was Alfred, and he was a bartender too. And you would get done with your shift, and they would allow you, but you couldn't be in uniform. They would allow you one drink after your shift. So they could make you a drink, and you could sit off to the side of the bar. You wouldn't fraternize with anybody, and you had to dress in a certain way, had to have a collared shirt on and look nice, but it couldn't be anything that had the cruise on it. And you had to sit, and you could have one post-shift drink. Well, my friend Alfred would make me this drink, and it was like a top shelf for a Cadillac margarita. Had the regular stuff, and then it had some Grand Marnier, and then he would stock that thing up. I mean, that thing was 3/4 booze, and he wouldn't give me one; he would give me like 3. And so I was off and going, and so my point in saying all that stuff is we just kept going, and it was just too much. And at some point, even at that age, I think it was 22, my liver was like, "Stop! Will you please stop it?" And so then I heeded its advice at one point and just left. So I have no idea why I was talking about that. There was something. Antonio just got here. Curry was magical yesterday. Absolutely, Antonio. And I'll ask you the question I've been asking everybody, which is, what can you say? I said he's the best Bay Area athlete of all time. I said that if I was starting a team, a franchise, any sport, I don't care what the sport is, it's Curry. Like, he's the best of all time. He's the best sports CEO of all time. On the court, off the court, with the fans, with the endorsers, if you take everything in one ball, the American Idol, and you say, this is the list, how good the player is off the court, how good he is in the community, how good he is with the fans, with the endorsers, with the corporate sponsors, with the responsibility of being the true number one of the franchise, interviews before the game, after the game, when he's not playing, the effect he has on the league and how he's changed the league, how he champions for the league. He tried to fix the All-Star game, got railed for that. And if you remember early on, guys didn't like Steph Curry. I talked about this around the All-Star game this year. Other players didn't like him. They thought he was silver spoon, that he came from a certain way, and they just didn't like him. And so, like James Harden, remember Harden and Westbrook and others liked him when they did the All-Star voting. Curry was always behind those guys. And part of the reason, as weird as this sounds, it has to do with race. And he's light-skinned. And so a lot of people were, they resented that fact. They thought he was silver spoon, all those kind of things. And then Steph Curry, just through his work ethic and his leadership and all those guys, flipped all those guys around. Everybody loves Steph Curry. But early in his career, it wasn't that fans didn't love him. They did. But it was players in the league were like, he's silver spoon, light-skinned Steph Curry, man. And then after a while, I was like, okay, he's an assassin, actually, is what he is. he's a badass, and we're going to respect this guy. This wasn't because his dad. This wasn't because his family. This wasn't because of upbringing. This guy's just pure assassin. It's just like he's got this smile and he's dancing on the court, but he is going to crush your face. And so then all of a sudden people started to respect him. Not people like fans, not people like owners, not people like coaches. They did. It was his peers that it took a long time for him to come around to. So anyway, yeah, there's that. All right, let's get to, as we're an hour and a half into the show on a Friday edition, and I can't thank you enough for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Please make sure that you subscribe. Tell all your friends, hit that like button and the alerts. Also, we are on Instagram, we're on X, we're on Twitch, we're on another YouTube channel, and we're on Facebook as well. And you can follow my personal page, John Lund, on Facebook, and John Lund Unleashed on Facebook, and the website, of course, which we write. Everything we have is archived on there, all that kind of stuff. Just a great place to follow the show, and the show runs live on it, johnlundunleashed.com. So make sure you do that. I think are we caught up on supers? Oh, right here. AJ Cruz, support your local mom and pop coffee joints. People get a caramel coffee on me, John. Thank you, AJ Cruz. That's very nice of you. My wife is big into the caramel side of things. I'm quite boring. If I do a flavoring, it's going to be a sugar-free vanilla. Sugar-free vanilla is normally what I do, but I'm not a huge Starbucks guy. If I ranked them, Pete's is really good. Blue Bottle. What's the other one? There's one right by my house that just opened up. That's super. A lot of, like you said, though, AJ, support your local. A lot of good local coffee joints that I like, because I like I do like a bit of a strong taste to it. And Starbucks just, to me, isn't that strong in the way that they make things. And again, it's not a rip. If I see a Starbucks and I really need a coffee, I'll do it. But it's not my favorite. Even though, like I said, I'm still blown away that Jordan Schultz is the son of Howard Schultz. Like, I did not know that. Thank you, AJ, and happy Friday to you. I really appreciate it. There's my friend AJ. So I think we're caught up on those. All right, let's move to this real quick. Dutch is really good. Good call. I have not had, even though there's one right by my house, the Paris baguette. I have not had that, and there are a couple by my house. If you say $59.50, but really $84, I will try Paris baguette, because I have not tried it, and they're all around the Bay Area, and I've seen them. I just didn't know that they had good coffee, but I would still say that local mom and pop joints, because you want to go local, but skills of the dreams. Yeah, so that's the way I like to go. All right, let's get a little football in here. And if you want to go back to Steph, like I said, I will put the chapters up, and you can click all over Steph, because we did just over an hour on Steph, and he deserved it and even more. But let's get to Myles Garrett, no to Browns. So Myles Garrett did not just, come up with this thought and write a release his people so he could say, okay, Browns, I'll take an extension. And just so you know, Myles Garrett, and I didn't keep this in my stuff. Yeah, I posted it at one point during the show, but he basically said, I want to win, and he was trying to be nice, and relationships don't often end nice. And so he said, look, I want to be traded from the Browns. Let's do this nice. I love the Browns, this, that, and the other, but I want to be traded. And Andrew Berry is their GM, and much like what happened with Jimmy Butler, and I told you this, came out, nope, not trading him. And so Jimmy turned into a child, and then he eventually got it traded. But the reason why Pat Riley said right away they're not going to trade him is because you're trying to keep leverage. And it's the same thing with Andrew Berry. He knows he's got to trade Myles Garrett. And Myles Garrett doesn't want this to get ugly. He wants to be respectful, but he basically came out because apparently the Browns said, no, we got a big extension for you, because Myles Garrett, as I told you the other day, has no more guaranteed money left on his deal. So whoever trades for Myles Garrett, and the reason why the Browns just can't trade him to the highest bidder is because Myles Garrett won't sign an extension with that team. So it's got to be one of those things where the player and the team, the team can get as much as it can. The player is going to want to play for that team and get the extension done. So that's where they sit with Myles Garrett. The reason I bring it up is because I still think that the 49ers are going to be in the Myles Garrett business. I'm not saying they're going to do it. But as yesterday, for example, we saw the defensive lineman run around in underwear, and we can connect Myles Garrett, who said no to the Browns, and I still think is going to get traded no matter what Andrew Berry, their GM, says, because he's just trying to keep leverage. So the next thing on the chalkboard there says 49ers DL, which is defensive line. And defensive linemen ran around yesterday in their underwear, and I watched. And the one thing I would say is it's a really, really deep group. So Daniel Jeremiah said that there are 24 players that he would say are not first-round talents, but certainly talents that are starters, is what he said. 24 starting grades. And then I'm trying to think of the insider yesterday who said it. There was another draft insider who basically said the same thing, that this is one of the best defensive line groups as far as depth that he's seen in a really, really long time. So I don't know if the 49ers will go with a defensive lineman at 11. Now, maybe if there's a certain edge guy, and there's been a lot of guys mocked to the 49ers. Walter Nolan said yesterday, the Mississippi defensive tackle, that he's going to be Aaron Donald. I'm like, ooh. And then Aaron Donald actually popped onto a TV screen, which was pretty cool. Kenneth Grant's not working out. Maybe Mason Graham falls, but I doubt it. The kid from Michigan. So there's a lot of really good players. There was a lot of speed at the combine yesterday that is really good. So like the D-line group is really, really good. And I watched him yesterday, and there's a bunch of guys that I really like for the 49ers. And if a guy like Graham were to slip, a lot of people have him projected in the top 5. If he was a guy that would slide, I'd be all over it if I was the Niners. You and I yesterday kind of played a hypothetical fun game. If Abdul Carter, because of this foot injury, were to slide a little bit, I doubt that he does, but it's possible. Because as I told you before, some reason, well, Jalen Carter was off the field kind of stuff, and he went to 10, should have been top 3, top 5. Those things just happen. Same thing happened with Michael Parsons. Michael Parsons all year long, top 3, top 5, goes to Dallas at 12. I don't know what happens. But so if one of those guys that are supposed to be top 5 slides, the Niners are going to be all over them. So go back and watch some of those D linemen, because it could be one of those guys. But I do think they're maybe going to go with a deeper version of it. So that's my update on the 49ers, and I'll have a whole thing on it this weekend after I dork out watching the combine on the weekend. And I told my wife, I said, look, it's combine weekend. I'm really sorry, but I got to watch all this stuff. And she's like, oh God. And then the Matthew Stafford stuff is really, really interesting. And I keep bringing this up just because it affects the NFC West. It's not going to affect the 49ers, but I told you time and time and time again, before any of these insiders had all this stuff out, I told you the Stafford thing just makes too much sense. Pete Carroll's 73. He wants to get paid. The Raiders are going to overpay. All these different things make a ton of sense. No state income tax in Nevada. They want to win. Tough division. And if the Rams don't want to pay Stafford, then the Raiders apparently already have a contract in place, and now they got to work out compensation. But here's where the rubber hits the road today. So this, according to Pro Football Talk, Raiders and Matthew Stafford have found common ground on a new contract. Now the story this morning, and I don't know if I have a fancy clip for you, but so I can just tell you, the story this morning has progressed into Stafford and Rams are going to meet this weekend, and they're going to call out this bluff. If this is a bluff, and what the Rams did, if you don't know, is they told Matthew Stafford's camp, and again, he has no more guaranteed money. Stafford has no more guaranteed money. So when that happens, like Trent Williams happened last offseason, these stars, especially as they get older, they want guaranteed money. If they snap an ankle, a knee, an Achilles, they don't have any guaranteed money. They don't get anything. That's it. Adios. So Stafford's like, I'm not stepping on the field until I get more money. I get more guaranteed money. And the Rams are going, okay, we'll offer you 40. He's saying, I want 60. Well, 50 is probably the midpoint. We know that. I'm not a math guy, but 40, 60, 50. So they said, okay, go out and find it. Well, Stafford went out and found it. In fact, he found it not only from the Raiders, but reportedly the Giants too. But the Raiders, they have something already worked out between him and I told you this. I think most teams would give Stafford 2 years. I think the Raiders are desperate enough to give him 3 years. Put on top of that there's no state income tax in Nevada, and the Raiders would guarantee all 3 years of the deal, I'm told. And all of a sudden, Matthew Stafford, I want to be a Raider. And so the number maybe is over the Rams, but not as high as what he wants. But we're hearing like maybe 3 and 150, but all guaranteed for Matthew Stafford. 0 guaranteed now, $150 million guaranteed if he goes to the Raiders. Yes, please. I tell you, it's all about the money all the time. He's already got a championship after losing in Detroit, so he's fine. Personally speaking, I like Las Vegas. I wouldn't go there because of Kansas City, Denver, and the Chargers. They all made the playoffs last year, and you're the Raiders. And if Stafford goes to the Raiders, he's not going to win, but it's $150 million. He's going to the Hall of Fame regardless. He already got his ring, so that's where Stafford wants to go. Unless the Rams were bluffing and essentially made another team do their negotiations for them. So the Rams essentially said, you know what? We want to give you 2 and 80 and we'll guarantee all of it. But if you want to go see if there's something better out there, in other words, you have another team do the negotiations for us. If you can't find that deal, then this deal's sitting for you right here. If you can find that deal, then we'll talk about it. And it might change their deal a little bit. They get off the dime and say, okay, we'll give you 2 and 100, and we'll guarantee every dime, but we're not going that third year. And so then Stafford has a decision to make. And the Rams have a decision to make, because here's the other part of it is they don't have to trade Matthew Stafford. He's still under contract. Now he can kick up dust, and a lot of times guys get traded when that happens. But the Rams have a decision to make to say, okay, what are the Raiders going to offer us? And that's the other part of it. Great. Matthew Stafford has a deal in place with the Raiders. Jimmy Butler had a deal in place with the Suns. They gave him a contract. They said, here's your contract extension. Now they had to work out compensation with Miami, hit a snag because Bradley Beal wouldn't waive his no trade. So Jimmy's a Warrior. They had a contract extension. They didn't get the piece done that they needed to get done between the Heat and the Suns. Therefore, Jimmy's a Warrior. Same thing here. Raiders said, here's our deal. What do you think? Matthew Stafford side said, that's great. But maybe Matthew Stafford's side, and we've all done this in business before, takes that contract to the Raiders. Thank you for negotiating for me. Brings it to the Rams and says, the Raiders will do it, and this is the contract we want. Now, the Rams could say, nope, not going to do it, or they could find middle ground or whatever the case may be. But if they're serious and this is not a full-out bluff, which I think it might be, if this is not a full-out bluff that the Rams are putting on Stafford, they went, damn, somebody did give him the deal. All right, we're going to have to step up. Or the Rams could go to the Raiders and say, what are you going to give us? Now, they're not giving him number 6, nor should they, for Matthew Stafford. But as I told you the other day, the Raiders have picked 37, which is high in the second round. And if then the Rams, here's where the tampering, but you can't tamper. So then the Rams call the Vikings and say, all right, what are you doing with Sam? And I know what the Vikings are going to say. You know, Sam, as I told you, Sam Darnold's from USC, Southern California guy. So they might take a second-round pick and maybe a conditional 4th or 5th-round pick from the Raiders for Matthew Stafford. But now they got to call the Rams because at the quarterback position, you got to have something in place. So they call the Vikings. Kevin O'Connell knows Sean McVay. Kevin O'Connell worked for him. So Sam will work in this offense. Sam's from Southern California. Sam went to USC. Sam was top 5 in MVP voting last year. He's 27 versus 37 for Stafford. And so that makes sense for a real young team like the Rams to grow with Sam Darnold. But for short term, like I said, the reason I keep bringing this up is because it's better for the 49ers if Stafford's out of the division and Darnold is in. So now the Rams call the Vikings, or probably already have, and said, all right, we know Sam is a free agent, but are you going to franchise him? And because what the Vikings can do is they can say, yep, J.J. McCarthy's the guy, but they're not going to let Sam Darnold walk out the door for nothing. That's stupid. That's like Kevin Durant walking out for nothing with the Warriors when they got D'Angelo Russell, who turned into Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins. You got to get something. So, yeah, he's a free agent, but what they could do is they could franchise Sam. Then they could auction off Sam. But remember, Sam Darnold has got to want to sign the extension somewhere. So they can't just say, okay, we're going to franchise Sam and then trade him wherever we want. That's what, it's like, okay, the Vikings and the Rams call and say, we'll give you a 4th for Sam. And if that's the best they can get, then the Rams got a 2 and a 4 for Stafford, gave up a 4 for Darnold. Not maybe better at the position in the short term, but their young team gets to grow with Sam Darnold, who's a Southern California guy that's shown he can play this or run this offense, and he ran it with Kyle too. So that's my rationale, my thought, and I know Schefter said it the other day after I did, but now it comes down to they're going to meet with Stafford, and was this a bluff or not? So maybe the Rams say, okay, Matt, we want you back. Here's 2 and 100 guaranteed. And Stafford says yes. Or Stafford says, nope, the Raiders are offering me 3 and 150. I want to go to the Raiders, find a way. That's where we are in this whole process, because it was clearly a bluff to see if Stafford could find that contract. And there's enough desperate teams in the league. We've talked about this. There's not enough good quarterbacks in the league. So a team like the Raiders, desperate as hell. Team like the New York Giants, desperate as hell. There's a number of teams that are like, I don't care if Stafford's 37. I'll give Stafford 3 years of guaranteed money, $150 million. I don't know why the Rams thought that they needed to shop him around the league to get that. But it's part of the process. Go find that team. They did the negotiation. It's almost like being a restricted free agent. In restricted free agency, some team will do the negotiating for you. You come back, you match the contract. This is almost what this feels like. Is that the Rams, I would love it if they did a swap Darnold for Stafford. Stafford was in Vegas and Darnold came to the Rams. I don't hate Darnold. I just think that Darnold isn't Matthew Stafford, and he's not. He's solid. But if Stafford leaves the Rams and Darnold is his replacement, that's good for the 49ers and the rest of the NFC West and the rest of the NFC in general, because the Rams are a good team. Now, long-term, Darnold being 27 and growing with this team and growing with Sean McVay, now their quarterback is is solved for the next 7 or 8 years. So long term, it's maybe a better move for the Rams. Short term, it's a better move for the rest of the division. So that's the latest on Stafford. Now it's up to him. Now it's up to the Rams. Are we really going to let him go to the Raiders? Are they really going to call the bluff? I mean, Stafford has the contract in hand, and we've all done this in business. Hey, you asked me to go out and find a better deal. I found a better deal. So you bluffing? You're going to give me the money? Am I staying here? So we should know by the end of the weekend where that's going to go. And that'll kind of start the dominoes, because then the Raiders are just going to turn around, I think, and say to the Vikings, all right, what are we going to do about Sam Darnold? Because I think the quarterback of the Raiders next year is either going to be Sam Darnold or Matthew Stafford. And if it's Stafford, then I think Sam Darnold's going to the Rams. And that affects the 49ers. Make sense? All right, we'll go into day one of the Combine. Colorado guys, I want to play for you. And this micro story is very, how can I put this? Not concerning. Just it's weird. It's just a weird story. I wouldn't get this out if I were people. People like, I talk about the Combine all the time. I just watched bits and pieces. It's absolutely DVR land, and I watched a lot of them. As I told you a little bit before, a lot of defensive linemen. It's a great year for the 49ers to need trenches. It's a great year for the NFL to need trenches. Offensive linemen are the last. I think Sunday is offensive linemen. I don't really watch the offensive linemen. I'll take your word for it. Edge guys, there was a guy that ran a 4.46 yesterday as an edge. He's probably going to get rocketed up the boards. There's a few guys like that. The big guys, I love watching the big guys run. It's hilarious to me if they run like a sub 4.5 or something sub 5 second 40. So anyway, I got into that a little bit. Thoughts on Stafford? Let me see here. Anybody got anything like that? Oh yeah. His wife is a piece of work. Stafford's wife is meeting with Tom Brady right now. That whole story is so funny. Oh my God. The story is so funny about oh my God, we met each other on a ski resort and all that kind of stuff. That whole thing was unbelievable. No, I like Darnold. But he's not Matthew Stafford in any way, shape, or form. He's got good physical skills. Matthew Stafford's elite in terms of his arm strength. So Darnold isn't him, even though I like him. It's not that I don't like Darnold. He's not Stafford. And Stafford has just got that it in him. And late in the game, he's one of those guys where it's like, damn, Stafford's got the ball in his hands. Now, I know in, 2021, the last game of the year, and Ambry Thomas got that interception, a ball that Stafford, for some reason, threw right down the sidelines. But he's not. Stafford is really good. And Darnold had one good year. So I would have to think that he's got to make sure that he can follow that up. But he really, Stafford, come on. Yeah, and this whole thing about Jimmy G, people are talking, come on, stop it. All right, let's see. So let me go to the Colorado guys here. So did you see this yet? I don't know if you saw this. And like I said, I don't want to misspeak on this. But just to give you a little background, I'm going to play Deion Sanders this morning. Deion's son, of course, went to Colorado, the quarterback, who probably is going to be taken in the top 3. And then there's Travis Hunter, who I don't know that I would like, if you have 2 positions, you have none to me. So I'm going to play Travis Hunter for you in a second. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Of course, the 2-way player, Heisman Trophy winner from Colorado, expect to go in the top few as well. Let me give you a little background on Deion Sanders and me. And again, I'm not saying we're best buddies. I should have brought this picture today, but so we talked at the Super Bowl 48 was the last time I saw him in person. But so I was working in Dallas. I was the program director. I've told you that, for ESPN 103.3 in Dallas, and did pre-half and post for the Cowboys as well. And Deion was hanging around, and a lot of the old Niners, a lot of the old Cowboys live in Dallas. And as you can imagine, Deion is the ringleader of all those guys. He just keeps everybody together. He's friends with everybody. So we had Michael Irvin was hired on the radio station. It was a mistake of mine. I hired Michael Irvin to the station, Nate Newton to the station, a lot of ex-Cowboys that people love. We had a ton of them on the station. But Deion came to me one time, called me up in my office and said, look, remember the Nate Newton story where the old guard of the Cowboys had like 200 pounds of weed in a van and got pulled over? And then while he was awaiting trial, did it again, had like 200 pounds of weed in a van and got in trouble. So he did his time in prison, and he was out of prison. And Deion called me one time and he said, look, and Nate had a great personality. I knew Nate Newton. And he said, look, Nate needs an opportunity. Nobody's going to hire Nate. Would you give him an opportunity? And remember, I ran a station that was owned by ESPN, who's owned by Disney. Hi, kids. smoke some weed. It was like, no. Like, I ran it up the flagpole, and they're like, absolutely not. So we had some more conversations, found the right guy at ESPN, and I said, man, it's, second chances. Nate's a great guy. Give me this one. And I had him start doing analyst work for pre and post game for the Cowboys, and he was phenomenal at it. He was funny and everything else. So it kind of, went to, okay, now he's an insider every week. Now he's on all the shows. Now he's doing stuff, videos for us and all that kind of stuff. So Nate Newton was a regular, but as part of Nate Newton's deal, I said to Deion, I said, okay, I finally got it to the right person, and they're going to give Nate a trial opportunity, but this has been a pain in the ass for me. So as the only thing I'm asking in return for giving Nate an opportunity is I want you to come on our show weekly, one of our shows weekly, our PM drive show, because we were ESPN, so we had to carry some ESPN programming in the morning, which was not very popular in Dallas, as you can imagine. But anyway, he came over our afternoon show and did some stuff with us and everything, and did some promos and all that kind of stuff. So really, really cool. He did it, was really, really good at it. I think I've told you the story before where he wanted to do a full show and show ESPN what he could do. So he brought in a DJ, did a show on his own, brought in a DJ, brought in Michael Irvin, brought in Terrell Owens, it's in the studio and I could see the thing going on. It was a full-blown party. And it just blew ESPN's mind. It was just too early in the process. They couldn't do it. So Deion pops into my office and he's like, man, that was awesome. What does ESPN think? And I go, man, Deion, if it was me, I'd do it in a heartbeat, but it's just, it's ahead of its time, which it was, because our executives are like, can't do it. I'm like, no, that's pretty cool. They're like, no, can't do it. So anyway, long story short is that as much as you could become friends with Deion Sanders from a business standpoint, I was friends with him. And so I like Deion Sanders. He's a great father. He's a great leader. He's a great mentor. Whatever you think, he's one of those guys that you would think that Deion Sanders, when the light was like, he was like that 24/7, 365. He's not. He's like that in front of the camera. He's like that when there are people around. I had lunch with Deion on numerous occasions where they put us off into the corner because he didn't want to be bothered, and they would put a curtain over it, and you're just like, oh my God. And he was just chill. Like he wasn't boisterous, and he wasn't screaming. He was very respectful. Like we had lunch and you're saying grace. He's grabbing your hand. Like, you better not take a morsel on that fork because we're saying grace first. So, it's legit. That's just who he is. So you don't have to like the guy. I'm just trying to take you a little bit behind the curtain to say that in his son's case, he's been raised the right way. So I'm not doubting that whatsoever, but in front of the cameras, his son Shadur is a little bit like Deion in that he's a showman. And so I give you that background on all of that. And we're down to the Colorado guys portion of the show on the chalkboard, if you're new. So we're down to Colorado guys near the bottom there, because I'm not sure, even though I just gave you that background on Deion, and I didn't do it to be like, look at me. I did it because I wanted to give you a little background on how this kid was raised. He was raised the right way. There's no question about it. And he's a hell of an athlete. And he's got a point. He said during his interview, hey, I turned around a couple of programs. Jackson State wasn't anything before Deion and Shadur got there. Then Shadur goes to Colorado, and he's really good, plays a couple of years there. So he's been successful where he's gone. There's no question. But just based on this, there's a key thing he says there that I don't want my quarterback to be this way. So let me just play. This is Shadur Sanders from this morning at the NFL Combine, and then let's talk about it. Do you want to be in the Shadur Sanders business? I'm not saying the Niners. I'm just saying in general. I just talked about CEOs for a franchise and Steph Curry, and how if I had to start a franchise in any sport, it would be Steph Curry. That's the perfect athlete. So remember, a quarterback, this is what you have to be. You are the leader of the team. It's just baked into the bread. So here's Shadur Sanders at the Combine this morning.
So don't give me. So you should know history repeats itself over and over and over, and I've done it over and over and over, so it should be no question why an NFL franchise should pick me. You think I'm worried about what critics say or what people got to say? You know who my dad is? They hated on him too. So it's like it's almost normal. Without people hating, it's not normal for us. So we like diversity. We like everything that comes with the name. That's why we are who we are.
Respect, but I guess my point in when I listen to that is the first thing he talked about was adversity, and I don't want adversity. I'm trying to avoid adversity. Steph Curry is not about adversity. Steph Curry is about a leader. Steph Curry is about team. I know how he was raised, and he was raised the right way. But I'm looking at this going, he loves the spotlight. He loves himself some me. He's got a little Terrell Owens in him. His talent is good. It's not great. I don't know that I want to be in the Shadur Sanders business, And so I'm looking at this, and when he heard, adversity is good to face. I told you this about the Warriors. They're going to face adversity at some point. This is all kumbaya, and they're 7-1 since they got Jimmy, and this is great. Everybody in their life, every sports figure, every team, you face adversity. It's just, it's part of it. It's the deal. And so I know that at some point, Shedeur Sanders, probably in his rookie year when he throws 4 interceptions in the game, there's going to be adversity with Shedeur Sanders. If you're going to a team at the top of the draft, Tennessee's got problems. Cleveland's got problems. The Giants have problems. Wherever he goes, if he slides to the Raiders at 6, they got problems. If he slides to the Jets at 7, they got problems. So part of the problem with a quarterback coming into the league is most of the time you're going to a bad situation. So Aaron Rodgers goes to the Packers at 24, sits for a couple of years, gets lucky. Jordan Love, the same thing. But most guys, Patrick Mahomes goes to the Chiefs with Andy Reid. What a great situation. Sits behind Alex Smith for a year. Boom. Most guys come into this league on a bad team. And so you've got it. You're charged with changing the culture. I think Shedeur's 22. You're a 22-year-old kid. You got a lot to learn. And, oh, by the way, there's veteran guys looking at you like going, okay, Sanders, okay, Deion's kid, change the culture, change the team, lead us to the promised land. And there's going to be skeptics because he talks the way, he talks trash like he just did. I can face that adversity. That's a great thing. But I don't want I don't want my quarterback being part of the adversary. And that's where I think there's issues with this kid is I think, he's already like, okay. And by the way, he said, my dad faced it. Yeah, he brought it on himself. I mean, he was the one coming out of Florida State talking all about the money and all those kind of things. Once people could see what he could do, it was like, whoa. So part of me is, I don't know if Shedeur Sanders is worth it because right now, and I'm no football insider, he's okay. He's a good quarterback. I don't know that he's a great prospect. He's good, and I think he, through his work ethic, which is really good, and his dad, kind of like we talk about with Steph Curry, played the game, understands it. It's not going to be too big for him. There's a big part of that. Clearly, he's not going to lose his confidence. He's a very confident guy. There's a lot of good things about him. But there's something that when I hear him talk and see him and all these kind of things, I say to myself, man, is that the leader I want? Because I look at Steph Curry and I look at Tom Brady and I look at these guys who are considered to be who take on that responsibility of being the number one guy, not just paid like it, not just on the field, on the court, on the ice, whatever. They take it to heart that they're going to lead a franchise. And so if I'm an owner of a team, and this is who makes this decision, GMs make a lot of decisions, but when it comes to a quarterback and leading your franchise, a lot of times I'm sure that the owner is in the room going, all right, especially when it comes to a guy like Shedeur Sanders, as outspoken as he is, all right, man, you can make this deal. But an owner can ultimately say, even though he shouldn't, he can, I don't want that guy. That's not the guy I want lead my team. Now, I don't care if he's a defensive lineman or an edge rusher, or a linebacker, a guard, a corner, a safety, a receiver, a tight end. Like I think I've named all of them. Defensive tackle, that's fine. Whatever. You can pick that guy. You're the football guy. But when it comes to a quarterback, he's the CEO. He is the face of my franchise that I own. I'm that guy. And if I'm an owner of a team, I might say in Shedeur Sanders' case, or even Cam Ward's case, I don't know. I don't know if I want that guy to be the face, because we've seen with the Warriors what picking the right face of the franchise can mean to your organization. It means that they go from $450 million to the evaluation now of the Warriors, which is in the billions, and it's number one in the league. And a lot of that's traced back to Steph Curry, because there's a belief in Steph Curry and what he's done and building this arena and all the different things Steph has done. There's a reason why the Warriors are where they are, because he's the leader of it all. And so what you're essentially saying is that guy that was just at the podium that I just showed you is going to be that guy. And if I own the franchise, I have a right to say, and I don't like guys getting involved very much. And I'm not, Jerry Jones is one thing, Al was one thing, but I think Jed's a great example of it, where it's like, they're not going to just give Brock Purdy the money this offseason. They're going to go to Jed York and say, look, this is your money. He's leading the franchise. He's the face of the franchise. You good? Before we hand him that feathered pen that they always hand a guy, here's your pen, Thomas Jefferson. Sign your contract. So they give him the feathered pen, and before they give him the feathered pen, they're going to go they're going to call Jed one more time. Hey, we're handing him the feathered pen. You good? Yep, we're good. So it's the same thing. Hey, owner, we're going to turn in this card for Shedeur Sanders. You good? Yeah, I'm good. Or no, I'm not good. I don't want this guy to be the face of my franchise. I think he's going to tank my value. I think we're going to suck. I mean, that's the position. So I don't know that I want to be in the Shedeur Sanders business, even though I know his dad and I know he's a great dad. I don't want my quarterback walking into the league saying, I'm going to beat this adversity. It's like, well, maybe. But you're also going to have to get the respect of a bunch of guys in this locker room who think, and you keep mentioning your dad. I would never mention my dad. Never, never, never. I really wouldn't. Like, my dad, like, you're Deion Sanders, man. You're living on your own. Like, I would hate when my leader of my team, maybe I'm nitpicking on this. You're not your dad. Your dad was an accomplished guy, and whether people like him or not, and in Niner land, they love him because he helped them win in '94, but then he left and helped the Cowboys win the very next year. So I don't know what, and he's essentially he stayed in Texas, so he's a Cowboy kind of a guy. So I don't know what people think of Deion. I like him, but whatever. He was a hired gun for the Niners for 1 year. You're not him. Deion Sanders is a Hall of Fame player. Deion Sanders is now an accomplished head coach. He's all these different things, a motivational, this, that, or the other. He's his own man, and you're your own man. And I don't want to hear you talking about your dad. You're Shadur. We're not picking you because you're Deion's kid. We're picking you because we watched the film, and more so, as I always keep talking about Steph Curry, you're a leader. You're going to be handed the keys to our franchise. Boom. You have the master key to everything for the next number of years. Do we trust you? That's where I would have an issue. Not sure. All right, now this part is interesting to me. So we played Shadur. Now this is Travis Hunter, and Hunter to me, he looks like a really good defensive back and a really good wide receiver, but is he outstanding at both? Because if I want to pick a guy in the top 5, I think he's got to make a decision. Like Bryce Eldridge, drafted by the Giants as a pitcher and a hitter, and the Giants said you're a hitter. Now I know Ohtani did both or does both. We'll see what he does coming back from Tommy John. And there's a reason why there's Ohtani fever and everybody. It's just amazing because guys can't go two ways. It's too demanding. And in football, sorry, dude, I know you played in like 95% of the snaps offensively and defensively for Colorado. I'm going to sign you to a rookie deal of 5 years. You're not going to make it through the 5 years if you play two ways. So what a team is going to have to do, maybe you can be on offense every once in a while, or if I think you're a great receiver, then I can put you on defense every once in a while, but you're not playing 100% or 90% of the snaps in the NFL. It's far too demanding. So this is what he says. So I don't know, again, same kind of a thing in a different way with Shadur. I don't know that I want to be in the Travis Hunter business because I don't know that I want to make the decision of whether he's going to be great at one or the other. I think he's really good at both at the college level. And I'm not saying he's not worth the Heisman because he is, but there's a difference between college and pro. And I just don't know that I want to make that decision. I might take a different guy than Travis Hunter, and I might come back to regret it just because I don't know what he's best at. And I don't want the kids screaming at me all the time that he wants to play both ways in the NFL, which I don't think is possible. So here's what he said.
I did some meetings at receiver, did some meetings at DB, so it's still up in the air. They say nobody has ever done it for real the way I do it, but I tell them that I'm just different. I'm a different person.
Nah, that scares me. The Niners are not going to have to make that decision, but man, if I'm in the top 5, so again, Tennessee's there, the Giants are there, the Browns are there. A lot of people are mocking him to Jacksonville at 5, and I'm just like, oh. I know he could come back to burn you. There's no question. He could come back to burn you, but when's the last time a guy played 100% of the snaps both ways? They just don't do it. There's been guys who have dabbled in both. So, Charles Woodson can play defense and then plays a little bit of offense. I could see Travis Hunter doing that. I could see Travis Hunter being on special teams. I could see Travis Hunter being a gadget offensively when, kind of like Debo, like certain things. He's going to run. He's going to jet sweep. But you're not playing like you're not our regular receiver. A lot of people are saying that he's going to be a corner opposite Tyson Campbell, who's a nice corner that they have. So they have that, but is he the best corner in the draft? I don't think so. Best pure corner. Is he the best pure wide receiver in the draft? That's the kid McMillan from Arizona. So he's not the best prospect at either place. He's not the best corner, and he's not the best receiver. He's one of the best corners, probably top 2 or 3 corner, and he's top 2 or 3 wide receiver. Now, the fact that he can do both is really, really cool, and we're in the age of Ohtani, so everybody's like, yeah, he can do both. Baseball's different, man. Baseball, especially as a DH. DH, sit down. DH, sit down. DH, sit down. Pitch. Like, it's hard, but it's not as physically demanding as a guy who's going to play 100% of the snaps. And to just keep that in perspective, roughly speaking, There's about 60 snaps on both sides of the ball. So he's going to play over 100 snaps in the NFL. You know how gassed guys are in the league? And they've got those meters on them. What's that meter going to do? Does not compute. Like, they put meters on these guys for everything. Like, well, you're tired. No, I'm not tired. No. The meter says you're tired. You're tired. That what it is. You're tired, man. It's not us. It's the meter. The meter is screaming and yelling at us that you're tired. Sorry, bro. You're tired. What's it going to do with Travis Hunter? So I don't want to have to make that decision. I know. Come back and burn me. Go for it. But guy wants to play both ways. I don't know that he's the top prospect at either position, but he's really good at both. Master of none, that old adage, master of none. I don't want a part of it. And it looks like Jacksonville maybe at 5, and Jacksonville's one of those teams that, kind of makes those mistakes. So I don't know. We'll see. But that makes me really nervous. I mean, it's a great point by you. He's one of a kind to get a shot at Ohtani. Look, it's going to be too intriguing for somebody. It's going to be way too intriguing for some team, and they're going to take him. Hi, Steve. Travis Hunter's telling teams he will not be happy unless he's playing both. That's what I'm saying. Like, first of all, if I'm drafting you, we'll tell you what to do. If I'm going to give you all that money and I decide that you're one or the other, that's just the way it is. It's not up to you to tell me what you're going to do. I'm just not that's not going to happen. If we think that you can't do that, do both. And like I said, I don't think there's any, like a lot of people have said he's a better corner. So what I would say is, okay, you're going to be one of our starting corners, which is hugely important. And then we're going to give you, if there's, again, I'm just going to use the 60 snaps. If there's 60 snaps in a football game, we'll give you 20 on offense. The NFL is not college, man. You're not in the Big 12 anymore, Dorothy. This is the NFL, not for long. And if you're playing 100 snaps a game, it's not for long. It's just the way it is. And he's not a big guy. He's like 5'11", 185. Sorry, you're just not going to hold up. I'll say it. I wouldn't take the chance on Ohtani. And I know that like the upside is like, oh my God, and he could burn you. But at the most, I'm saying at the most, I'm playing him those 60 defensive snaps because corners are always on the field. He's not coming out. So he's going to play all those snaps on defense, and then I'll find 20 snaps on offense. Maybe, I don't even know if a team would do that. Maybe 15, maybe 10. They'll put him out there as a gadget guy or a slot guy or a jet sweep guy or, that kind of a player. You're going to be a home run hitter on offense, but it's going to be like 20 plays. And look, if you can handle that, then we'll see. But we're going to put you as a corner and you're going to play every snap. And then wide receiver wise, we're just going to have to see. I mean, I think that's the best any team can do. I just talked myself into it. That's the best any team can do. That's what I think. But I think the NFL is just way too demanding. I mean, I think there's guys too that are going to resent the fact that he's going to do it, and they're going to smoke him. And they're going to go, how's two sides of the ball doing now? How's that working out for you? Baseball is just easier. Sorry, it's hard to hit a baseball. I know that. It's hard to pitch. I know that. But in terms of the physical nature of the game, kid's not going to get through it. Not at 5'11", 185 either. He's just not the biggest guy you've ever seen. So I don't think it's happening. What else do we got? Anything else? Because I'm at the random point. I just did Colorado guys. And again, if you just joined us and you're like, what the hell, bro? Curry scored 56. After we get off the air here, just in a few minutes, I will hit the podcast, Apple, Spotify, or get your favorite podcast. We'll put it up there. And then right after that, I will put chapters on this very show. And right underneath this video, you can click to whatever thing that you want to hear about. So I keep it in order on the chalkboard. Curry's 56. What can you say? Greatest Bay Area athlete. That would be Steph now. And we've got a lot of them. Barry, Willie, Joe, Jerry, Ricky. Steph's got to be at the top now. If I'm starting a team and I want a CEO athlete, Steph's number one of all time. I know that there's Brady. I know that there's Manning. I know that there's Jordan. I know that there's no transgression. The only transgression for Steph was his jersey stunk when his mom smelled it last night. That's it. That's not a big deal. Miles Garrett says, nope, Browns. I asked for a trade. Don't care about an extension. That could affect the 49ers. D linemen worked out at the combine yesterday. Lots of them. Matthew Stafford. It's time to call the Rams bluff. They're going to meet today. Do they really want to move this guy? I'm going to go out and say they don't. But if they do, they've already come to an agreement with the Raiders and Stafford's side. Now it comes down to, were the Rams bluffing? Were they allowing other teams to do negotiations? And finally, they just say, fine, we'll give you the contract because you found it. We're going to find that out today, and that has to do with the Niners. If he's out of the division, woohoo, I like it. Colorado guys I just played for you. Do you want to be in the Shooter Sanders business? And what about Travis Hunter on both sides of the ball? The kid's like, I'm going to play both. You're 5'11", 185. You're not going to play both. At best, you're going to be our starting corner and be a gadget guy on offense. Sorry, that's the best we can do. And he can't demand, I'm going to play all or I'm not going to play here. All right, we'll see. Random, we've been done throughout the show. We haven't done as much random today, but we've done all right. See, this is where I respect everybody. I love this stuff. Thanks, Great One 765. Steph is not over Barry Bonds. I respect that opinion. You can absolutely make that argument. I guess the only reason that I do for Steph is I'm talking on and off the court. I would have voted Barry Bonds into the Hall of Fame the second he was eligible, but there is that hanging over his head. He's not the greatest guy personally. He wasn't to the fans. He wasn't to the media. I shouldn't hold that against him. But I'm talking about the whole ball of wax. Steph has never had a transgression. Never, 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 never. If you look at their careers in terms of the better individual career, that's probably Barry. Better team career, Barry never won a World Series. Whether he, I get it that he didn't have guys on his team and others could have helped him out, but he doesn't have a championship. Steph has multiple. Steph is amazing off the court. Steph is a perfect CEO. He's a great endorser. He's a great family man, all those kind of things. I just don't think you can top it. But if Great One 765, you say that Barry Bonds in your book is the greatest athlete in Bay Area sports history, I get it. I really do. You can make that argument for Willie. You can make it for Joe because he played the most important position in sports. Jerry, it's a little tougher, but Jerry is absolutely the best wide receiver of all time. You can start the debate at 2 with Moss and Terrell Owens and all these other people, but you can't debate number 1. It's just not possible. You can if you want, but I'm just telling you, it's tough. And Ricky Henderson is the greatest leadoff hitter of all time, the greatest stolen base guy of all time, and to combine the power and the speed of Ricky is, you could make an argument there because just the personality of Ricky was unbelievable. Ricky being Ricky. So you can make a big argument. And if you say that Barry is number 1 on your list, I totally get it. I really do. You can make that argument and you'd go, okay, yeah, I get it, man. I can totally see that. Let's see. This is a good one. Good morning. The narrative last year was Curry and the Warriors were done. Talks about trading him and turn the page when the season started. I did. If they hadn't made the Jimmy trade, and I'm going to stick to this, I like Jimmy, and I hope they're really successful because it makes the show more fun. But I will say that it is the honeymoon period, and that adversity that Deion Sanders was talking about was coming, and it's coming for this team too. Jimmy wasn't very good last night, and if Steph didn't bail him out for 56, we'd be like, Jimmy Butler was 1 for 3 and he sucked, or 1 for 7 and he sucked. What happened? Jimmy Butler doesn't play well in some playoff games and they get knocked out, or if they're right now they're in the 7. If they were in that, and Jimmy played terrible in those playing games, they got knocked out. Believe me, we're going, what this deal looks crummy. Remember, Sam Darnold was like, Sam Darnold's getting re-signed by the Vikings. Had 2 bad games at the end of the year. He's out of town, and J.J. McCarthy's in. Things can change. Things can change really, really, really fast. So everybody loves Jimmy, and it's kumbaya, and it's the the honeymoon period where you feel like you're floating on air in that new relationship, and that's great. But things change. And so as great as I like it, and the thing I said at the beginning of the show that I'll stick to in terms of the Warriors is I'm not going to say they can make a run for a championship with the age that's on their roster or anything like that. But I think this is a fair statement to make. They have the it back. The it. They walk into an arena, not championship it, just it. They're a half game out of 6th place, which I think would be really big. Although 3rd place right now is Denver. I don't know that they win that series, but if it's Houston, Memphis, even OKC, some of those young teams, they could scare the hell out of them. But I don't like Denver or the Lakers as a matchup against the Warriors in the first round. I think they'd be one and done. But right now, and we have to have an opinion on this show every single day. Well, 6 out of 7, Monday through Saturday when we do the show. Tomorrow I'll be back at 10 a.m., by the way. Last weekend we were out of town, so I didn't do it. But just those who are new to the show, 10 a.m. on Saturday, if you can make it, that'd be tremendous. So we go Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. on Saturdays. But look, Jimmy's Jimmy. He's been great. It's the honeymoon period. So what I can say about the Warriors and be comfortable with at this point, because I'm not into like, oh, this proclamation. I don't need to yell and scream about it, is they have the it back. Jimmy has given them the it. And if I'm a team that's young and in the playoffs, I'm scared, but there's still, 23 games to go? And then the playoffs start. So let's see. Let's just see how this goes. I know, I hate when I say it. Let's see how it goes. That's why I said I think they have the it. That's as good as I can do on them. And then as far as Steph, like I said, to just reiterate that one more time, what can you say? I said he's the greatest Bay Area athlete. I think he's the number 1 CEO of all time. That's on the court, off the court, as far as players that I would want as the face of my franchise. I mean, I think that's fair. Let's see. All right. Here's what I'm going to give you, and I don't know. I'm going to leave you this for the weekend, and our female listeners, viewers, fans. Let me see. I'm just starting this. I'm just making sure that we're not missing anybody that we want to talk about. I'm looking at the chat line right now. All right, let me throw this up there as the sweet, clean, family friendly caboose pistol. As men, this is just me, and I could be totally wrong. Let me see here. Where is that thing? I was going to say you might get out of it, but you're not going to get out of it. So here's, I love to go to the New York Post. I don't know why this guy would choose to make this public. I guess, whatever. I mean, I guess he's confident in this whole thing, but saw this in the New York Post, and I thought to myself, there's no way if this is my situation, I'm going public with this. I'm just not going public with it. That's fine. It's between me and my girlfriend, whatever. Everything's fine. But I'm not, this isn't going public. So I don't even know how this story got public, how it got out. And if my significant other said, hey, New York Post wants to write a story, I don't even know how this story comes out. I'm saying I'm not a go for it. Like, nope. But anyway, my boyfriend has a micro penis, and here's what our perfect sex life is like. And there's the guy with the micro penis. Like, man, that's rough. I mean, she's really pretty, and maybe, maybe women are right. Oh, size doesn't matter. And that's great. But micro penis, I don't even know what that is. I haven't ever heard that term, but I'll go with you that that's a term. But like, if I'm that guy, first of all, I'm not okay. If my wife talks me into the story, which I'm sure you're not getting paid anything for that story, and you're just willingly, you're willingly putting that story out there, and she's just your girlfriend. She's not your wife. So, I mean, like, she could leave you tomorrow, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, you were the micro penis guy. I saw that story in the New York Post. Can I buy you a drink? Absolutely not, micro penis. I got to go. Like, come on, pencil dick. Like, no. Like, even if they do the story, you can't have your picture up, and you got to use an alias for a name, don't you? Like, no. Like, okay, fine, honey, I'll do the story because I have a tongue like a racehorse. I'm Gene Simmons. I'm tongue guy. Like, remember tongue guy a couple of weeks ago? Tongue guy. Like, I'm just, there's other things I can do, and I'm great at it. So, okay, if you want to hype me up for those kind of things, that's great. But we can't use my picture, and we're using an alias. My name's Bob Johnson or something. There's just no way I'm putting, like, first of all, I'm not doing the story. They're not paying you $1 million for the story. So I'm not doing the story, A. And B, you're just my girlfriend. So you could leave me tomorrow. Like, a bunch of guys are going to call me going, honey, I got news for you. There's life after micro penis. So if they're apart, then he's got to go on the dating scene again. And there he's on like a dating app. And it's like, oh my God, come here, guys. Give me a dating app. Let's see, whatever the dating app is, I don't think Grindr, but whatever the dating app is, romance.com. Oh my God, come here, look, it's micro penis guy. Oh, you got to hook up with him. You got to see that. Nope, not doing my, he's going to get, chances are he's going to be back on the dating scene. So if you told this story in the New York Post, which is a national, a lot of people read the New York Post, and you're trying to be on a dating app or something after you break up with your very patient girlfriend right there, it's gonna be trouble. It's gonna be a problem. So I don't mean to leave you that with the weekend, but I saw that and I'm like, who volunteers to do that? Who volunteers that information? Who volunteers to have their picture up there? Who volunteers for the story? And how the hell did the New York Post find out about it? Hey man, through the grapevine, we heard this. We heard about micro penis. Would you like to talk about it? And the guy's like, oh yeah. Yeah, can't wait. Come into the apartment. Take a few pictures. Yeesh. Maybe it's just my insecurities. It could be a me thing, not a you thing. Afraid to go out to the comments. I really am. I'm really afraid. I knew this was going to be the first person. I just knew it. I knew it. Harry Johnson must be gone, but John Holmes is here. Okay. Stafford and the Rams. Sorry, I thought that was going to be a totally different thing. Stafford and the Rams just agreed to a new deal. Thank you, John Holmes. I thought that was going to be a totally different thing. I was like, oh, no, it's John Holmes. What's he going to say about this guy? I know. Probably shouldn't have talked about it. That's what I love more. There you go. You're right, Stafford. So that's what it was. It was just a pure bluff the whole time. And he went out and found the contract. The Raiders negotiated for Yeah, exactly. Time to shave and dye your hair. You're 100% right. Like, oh no, I broke up with my girlfriend. We did that story in the New York Post. You told me you wouldn't break up with me. And now it's like, damn, got to shave his head or grow it long or whatever he's got to do. And anyway, what did Pine? Oh, yeah. So there you go. The Raiders did the negotiation for Matthew Stafford. And like I was saying before, it was either going to be a bluff, which the Stafford camp called, and then the Rams said, fine. Do you have the numbers on the deal? Let me look this up. I guess I have it right here. I guess I could look it up myself, huh? The Commanders and Texans. By the way, if you read my piece on Debo 2 weeks ago, I told you the two teams that were going to be most likely to trade for him were the Commanders and Texans. And now the Commanders and Texans had significant interest in trading for Debo Samuel. Man, according to Schultz report, his dad owns Starbucks. Did you know that? Finalizing agreement. This is on Stafford. Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't say the numbers here. Again, Jordan Schultz. Dad owns Starbucks. Who knew? And the Rams are going to stay together. Multiple teams, the Rams and Raiders. Okay. So there you go. It does not say the numbers. Does not say the numbers on Stafford's deal. But yeah, they just called their bluff and they said, all right, Raiders are going to give us X amount. And we went, okay, fine. They did the negotiation for him. That would suck. You know, you're a team and you think you're going to get Matthew Stafford and he just used you as leverage. So, oh, this is good news. For 49ers fans, Packers have had a trade offer on the table for DK Metcalf, would include the 23rd overall pick in the draft and one of their wide receivers. If I'm Seattle, I'm not trading DK Metcalf for that, but taking him out of the division would be nice, although you might have to face him in the playoffs. So there's that. So again, two things of significance. Matthew Stafford staying with the Rams, the bluff that was called by the Rams and the Raiders did the negotiation. As I told you, that might be part of it. So there you go. And the 49ers teams that are interested, according to Schultz report, did you know his dad owns Starbucks? Commanders and Texans. And if you go back to my piece on johnlundunleashed.com, let me see if I can pull this up right now, because I believe that's what I said. Share screen. That's box score. I don't want the box score of the Warriors game right now. Let me see here. Do I have that up? Come on, man. I know that I have. Maybe I don't. All right. But I did write a piece about Debo Samuel on the blog a couple of weeks ago. And one of the teams I mentioned, two of the teams I mentioned, because of connections. I tell you this all the time. It's okay. You believe me. Point is that connections, right? Connections. Debo Samuel, they need a second wide receiver. Why? Because Nico Collins is the only receiver they have. Tank Dell ripped about everything you can in his knee. Stephon Diggs is not coming back. They need a second receiver. Who's the head coach of Texans? Oh, yeah, D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans, who was the defensive coordinator of the 49ers? So I told you there would be significant interest there. And then the Commanders, who runs the Commanders again? Oh, that's Adam Peters, who was here when they drafted him. He was John Lynch's right-hand man in 2019 when they drafted him. What do they need? A second receiver for Terry McLaurin. So it's not really hard, these things, if you just think who's connected to who. And I said in the piece that I wrote about Debo Samuel, let me see if I'm sure I have that story up. Oh, here it is. Oh no, it's not. Here, I'll pull this up real quick, just because I want to do this myself. John Lund Unleashed. Oh my God. Oh, my keyboard's not working now. That's wonderful. Anyway, I don't have to stroke my own ego about it, but I told you the teams that I put on the list for Debo were the Commanders and the Texans because of those two connections and the need at wide receiver. So there you go. So those are the two people, according to Schultz report, who wanted to fight at 6'2", 210, and the owner of Starbucks. I'm just going to say this one more time. I would have went Starbucks. I mean, it's cool being an NFL insider and everything, and I love the NFL and all that. I would have 100% like to have owned Starbucks, because then I could just own a team. Insider, I own a team, man. I would have gone that route. All right, anything we missed today? Just want to make sure that we hit everybody on the supers today one more time. Harry Johnson, good morning. Harry's with the boys. Bill M chimed in today. Steph is an icon. LeBron is polarizing. No comparison. Globally, Steph is lined up with Ali. That's a good call. Steph is the Bay Area GOAT. Mays number 2. We had somebody come in and say it was Barry, so that's cool. I respect all opinions there. What else did we have? Sons of Johnny the Master is one of my favorite guys around. Where's covered and got the money line. Yeah, if you went halftime yesterday, you're loving it. Little Dellavedova love right there. Remember when he tried to guard Steph? Was that like a crossover or something? The Dellavedova running his ass, kind of like Chris Paul the one time too. AJ Cruz, support your local mom and pop coffee joints. People, get a caramel coffee on me, John. I will go out and get a coffee after the show today. It's Friday. I need to be all jacked up. Although, do I have a problem, you think? I've got a sugar-free Red Bull sitting here, which this is a berry flavor and it's sugar-free. Pretty good. And then I have my normal coffee in my Yeti that keeps it warm the entire show. And then I do one of these coffee-flavored protein things. I think I have a problem getting all jacked up in the morning. I think I have an issue. If my doctor's watching, I'm in a lot of trouble. So he's like, will you please not do energy drinks anymore? I'm like, they're wrecking havoc with your body. I'm like, okay, I'll stop doing that. She's like, you need to cut back on coffee too. And I'm like, of course, I'll do both of those things. Whatever you say, doc. What's up, doc? She's like, I hate you. And Stafford and the Rams agreed to a new deal, as we were talking about. The Raiders did the negotiation. I said there was one of two things of how this could be going. Either Stafford really wants out and the Rams are going to go get Sam Darnold, or Matthew Stafford's going to stay there because the Rams asked somebody else to do their negotiations, kind of like a restricted free agent. He found the deal. The Rams said fine. And so that's how it's going to end. And so probably the Raiders go after Sam Darnold now and have to talk to the Vikings, who are probably going to franchise him because they want to get something in return. I would think Sam would go for maybe like a third. I don't think he'd go for more than that, maybe a second, but probably a third. Raiders own 37. They'd have probably had to give the Rams like 37 and like a 2 and a 4. I would think that Sam Darnold would go for maybe a 3, something like that. I could be wrong. Anyway, good time I had by all today. I hope everybody enjoyed hanging out. Thanks again to the guys who were in the chat last night. We did our first Lund loyalist chat. If you want to become a loyalist, all you got to do is go to John Lund, the John Lund Unleashed page on YouTube. It's only like $4.99 a month. It's totally worth it. And we will be doing chats monthly, so that I'll at least do that. We'll do other things. I put out videos and things like that are just for the Lund loyalists. They, a day, a couple hours at least, whatever I do, I'll release those first to the loyalists. There's other things that we're going to be doing as well as all this gets going, so appreciate it. Make sure that you're subscribed to John Lund Unleashed. You don't have to be a loyalist, but just John Lund Unleashed. That's a freebie. Put your alerts on. Please give us a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm, that kind of thing. So thank you so much. Make sure you hit up johnlundunleashed.com. You can go back and look at that piece on Debo. You don't need to be 6'2", 210-pound Jordan Schultz to be an insider to figure out where Debo is going to go. Houston connection, Washington connection. Those are the two teams being talked about now, and I told you that probably a month ago. So there you go. And thanks for watching on X at John Lund Radio. Thanks for watching on Instagram. I haven't checked in on the Instagram people in a while, but my now my mouse is broken. Hold on. I'm having issues. They're both like dying, and so you have to plug them in for a minute. And I'm just going to do this for the rest of the day and take a break. But thanks to everybody for watching on X, on Instagram. That's at John Lund Radio. Thanks for watching on Twitch. We just started doing that a couple of days ago. Thanks for doing that. 2 YouTube channels. Monday, I'm going to be able to tell you why we're on 2 YouTube channels and not just John Lund Unleashed. And then we're on Facebook, I believe, on my personal page, John Lund. You can follow me there. John Lund Unleashed page on Facebook. That would be outstanding if you could follow me there. I don't know if we're going to be able to go off the air. Hang on a second. Let me see if this mouse is working, and then I got to get this all figured out. Did it work? Oh, it says it's connected. Now I'm back. All because of that mouse situation, but we figured it out. So very good. All right, everybody have a great weekend. Do remember, I'm going to be here tomorrow at 10 a.m. before I do anything. We'll probably do like an hour tomorrow just to hang out and check in on things and see how everything is going. So 10 a.m. tomorrow. Tell all your friends and enemies. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Thanks for joining us on all the different ways that you can check out the show. Let me just look at Instagram really quickly and make sure we are going there. Everything is wonderful. That is tremendous. Thanks for checking us out there. JohnLundUnleashed.com. Follow, do all those kind of things. And everybody have a great weekend, safe Friday night. And we will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time if you are so inclined.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye.